Welcome to Table Talk, the place for deep conversations in the Geekverse. And trust me, when we tear into a subject, we go deep. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Each episode, I'll be talking with one or more creators, authors, illustrators, publishers, or other movers and shakers in games, TV, books, movies, or other areas of the Geekverse. Regular guests include Douglas A. Burton, the author of Faraway Bird, a multi-award-winning historical fiction novel of the Byzantine Empress Theodora. He's also the author of The Heroine's Labyrinth, an alternative story structure to the hero's journey that often occurs in stories with feminine heroes. That structural framework frequently comes up in our analysis of story. Brianna da Silva, she's the director and co-writer of The Cultists, a Lovecraftian comedy mockumentary-style web show here on YouTube, and the author of The City of Reckoning, an epic fantasy novel of political intrigue, the ethics of war, and young love. Kamran Pasha is a screenwriter, director, novelist, and was a writer and producer on the series Kings, a producer on NBC's Bionic Woman, and a co-producer and writer for Sleeper Cell. He's also written for the CW series Nikita and Roswell, New Mexico. He's been breaking news from inside Lucasfilm, Disney, and Hollywood. His analysis and commentary have become very popular on YouTube. We regularly meet to discuss and analyze stories, and when we do, we dive into graduate-level seminars on story structure and writing. Come on in and let's go deep. And when I say we're going deep, I mean you'd better bring your hard suit. Other guests have included Lou Anders, the author of the Thrones and Bones fantasy novels Once Upon a Unicorn, the creator and publisher of the Norengard RPG, and the author of Star Wars: A Pirate's Price, the book that explains why the Millennium Falcon is on the planet Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Mark Tassin, the creator of the World of Ataltis, head of Mechanical Muse, former director of the Gen Con Writers Symposium, and the head developer of the new Cool Name RPG. Let's see, who else?
Bond. James Bond.
Well, not James Bond. Not yet. Maybe soon, though. But I have interviewed Jamie Stegmaier, the founder of Stonemaier Games, crowdfunder extraordinaire, and publisher of many hit board games like Scythe and Wingspan. Brian Colin, sculptor of the world of Revelo Monster Busts, and the creator of the vast, grim, dark horror RPG. Ajit George, the Dungeons & Dragons author. We talked about game writing, education, and his contribution to Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft, and the development of the Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, the commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne, and the goddess of death.
Well, actually, that interview got rather spicy, so I think I'd better just keep that one to myself. Kate Wilson, a YouTuber, actress, host, and prolific geek guru who's now working to make a new show dedicated to the world of tabletop gaming a reality. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride, because it's time to explore the worlds of tabletop gaming, sci-fi, fantasy, and all of geekdom through the eyes of those who are making things happen.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
It's time for Table Talk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my home. Welcome to the office. Welcome to Table Talk. I am extremely excited about the show tonight because we have finally reached our 100th episode of Table Talk over the past, I'm not exactly sure how long it's been, but something like 18 months that we've been doing this. And we have reached 100 episodes, and I really think that it's time to reflect, think about all the different things that Table Talk has been and how it's changed and what it's become. We've had such incredible guests over all of this time. We've had absolutely fantastic conversations. And so what we've done, very similar to how we launched the Heroine's Labyrinth for Doug's Heroine's Labyrinth book, we put together a rolling panel to bring back many people who have been part of the Table Talk journey over the past 100 episodes, and we're going to be talking about them. We're going to start off by talking with Doug and Brianna there in the chat, and just notes on what Table Talk has meant, because they've been with us for a lot for this journey. Then we've got Kamran is going to come on, and we're also going to be talking to all of the guests about, well, catching up with them about what has happened to them since they've last been on the show, because we're bringing back some people who haven't been on the show in quite a few episodes. And, many months in some cases. And so I know there's a whole lot of things like other short films that have been coming out, other books that have been published, all kinds of things that have been going on with our guests. And I love that, because this show when I set out to do Table Talk, one of the things that I wanted to do as a talk show was do so much more than just a critique or commentary kind of show. I wanted it to be a conversations by people who are actually doing things and creating things and making things happen. And I think that's been the case, whether that's been short films, novels, short stories, games, all of that. We actually have conversations with people here who are actively involved in doing. So first, let's welcome Brianna da Silva and Douglas A. Burton.
Hey.
Hey.
Howdy.
What's happening, everybody?
Hey, thank you so much for being here, both Brianna and Doug. You guys have been a huge part of Table Talk, and it is so fantastic.
Wouldn't miss it.
Yes.
What's up, James?
Yeah, we've got people waiting backstage, but do you guys have anything to say? Like I had my opening comments there. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to say about Table Talk?
Brianna?
You're letting the lady go first.
Sure. Sure, go for it, Brianna.
Well, what I'm going to say is just going to be praise for Doug, so I'm sure he's going to be happy about that. I guess should I jump into my my reflections on that, because it is kind of
sure. Because we were just talking about backstage how Doug came on a little bit over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird that our live stream in Austin was almost like dead on a year after Doug's first appearance on Table Talk. And the having the Heroine's Labyrinth has really been an anchor of Table Talk for a whole year. Yeah. So go ahead, Brianna.
Yeah. I think it's kind of an interesting thing to reflect back on, because when you first came on, well, not when you first came on, Doug, but when I first came on to discuss the ideas with you, I remember, because I actually rewatched some of our old conversations somewhat recently. I guess when you reposted them, Heath, I was like, what did we say back then? I was curious. And it's kind of fun to see like how your own thinking evolves. But I remember that when I first approached this, I was at first, skeptical and all this. And I think I framed it like, I'm someone that really likes more of the hero's journey type stories. I'm much more, I kind of perceived myself as being more interested in quote unquote masculine storytelling, just because I tend to write about like characters that defeat enemies with swords or whatever. There's often a combat element, element to my stories. But I was just curious. I was like, I feel very passionately about defending the feminine. And so even though I don't think I'm going to end up using this in my stories, I think that, I just want to know. Lo and behold, though, it comes as I'm reading Doug's book right now, the Heroine's Labyrinth. I'm about 60% of the way through. And one of the things that has been very surprising to me is to realize that was completely mistaken. That in fact, I'm finding these archetypes in my writing far more so than the hero's journey. And it's really been a fun, like recently I've been kind of reflecting on like what that means in terms of the feminine and masculine, both for me as a storyteller and of course me as a person too. Because I've noticed that there've been a lot of really good reviews, interesting reviews I've noticed on Amazon, where I've seen other people making those kinds of personal connections too. It's almost like, I think like there have been stories that I've been kind of stuck on, and I'm realizing, if I put the Heroine's Labyrinth archetypes in there instead, it's been clicking. And I think it's because without realizing it, even though it's like there's this thin veneer of sort of almost like a masculine aesthetic, you could say, like sort of the shallow level, like, it's a character that's combative or whatever. The deeper elements in terms of whether or not it's a story about going out and defeating a foreign dragon type situation, or fixing the problems at home, it's that latter that tends to be actually what I care about more as a person. And I think that's like, there's a difference between being like a masculine man versus a masculine woman, just still a woman. And I think that's a lot of those things are very deep in how I thought, and I didn't even realize it. So anyway, so that's been a really cool, just like personal takeaway that I've had. And my thinking is now completely different, like in a very, this was actually super useful for me personally. I didn't even realize I was using these archetypes all the time. They're so much in that book. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And well, thank you very much. I did, I think a couple weeks ago, rewatch it, and I watched, parts of the first time I came on, and it's so funny because I was super, super nervous.
Yeah.
And if you watch it, you'll see I'm pretty red in the neck and in the. I was super nervous because I never did anything like this, and I had no idea that I'd be meeting people that I'd be calling my friends, and that we would be working with each other on projects and discussing things like in depth, like our favorite movies and stories and shows. So Table Talk to me has been absolutely, win-win across the board. I really appreciate your comments about the Heroine's Labyrinth. I really do credit Table Talk for helping me fine-tune that book down the stretch, because by talking about it in real terms and by dealing with criticism or resistance, or not even just questions, about it, really forced me to think, how should I explain this? What is the question? What is the issue? What am I missing? What am I not saying? And a lot of changes occurred in the book, a lot of changes. In fact, my publishing consultant probably grumbled under her breath many times as I'm like, I want to change it one more time. But it's all due to, Heath, Brianna, James Bacon, Sable Pheonix, and several members in the chat, by asking a certain question at a certain time, led to, I would say, profound changes, and helped me communicate more the way it helped me achieve the level of communication that I guess I was hoping for with that book. So, and that said, it's been a real treat to read other people's work here, Heath, Brianna in particular, and to discuss these things. I did just start Brianna's book. I'll be honest, I started to think it wasn't going to happen for me because this is such a big book.
I know, it's huge. It's intimidating.
June 11th. June 11th is our date. So get the City of Reckoning, because we're going to be talking about the City of Reckoning on June 11th.
Mm-hmm.
June 4th is Heroine's Labyrinth. We're going to take a little break. We're going to take a few weeks break after this. I've got a guest on Thursday. Vic is coming back on Thursday. But then after that, we're going to take about a 3-week break. So that gives everybody a chance to catch up on reading Heroine's Labyrinth. If you've been reading that, we're going to do a Q&A with Doug on the 4th. And then on the 11th, we're going to be talking with Brianna about the City of Reckoning. So these two books up.
So I'll just say, I bought, and I use it for my writing all the time, a rather high-end AI voice reader. And it's beautiful. There's all these voices to choose from. And I will write and write and write. And then when I'm in the car, I listen to it read back to me. And I can't tell you how useful this is to a writer, because any disruption in the flow of the thought or the sentence, you'll hear it. And you're like, oh, I got to change that. I got to change that. So I found that I could buy an ebook and upload it into this reader. So I am able to, and it's beautiful. I am able to read. I'm able to listen to Brianna's book out loud, read to me by a British narrator, which actually I'll ask Brianna what accent she thinks, or what voice is best, man, woman, whatever. But I am very much enjoying the book in the early goings, and I have a feeling I'm gonna enjoy the book once I get all the way through to the end. Anyway, that's just one example. Heath, The Trial of St. Gabriel. I've read that, so it's been fun to be involved in other projects.
I like being the creator. The creator side is very important to this channel.
Yes. Well, and there's real high quality people and thinkers involved in the panel or in the chat, like James Bacon and Sable Pheonix, Tom McCratt, Robert Romano, Michael Pastor. There's a lot of people that contribute thoughts and ideas, and I guess I'm just always impressed with what we come up with here.
All right. Cameron's waiting backstage. So let's go ahead and bring him on. He's really one of the reasons that we are all here. Now, Brianna and I met on Twitter during NaNoWriMo, so we knew each other before. But Cameron has been with us from basically the very beginning. I'm not sure exactly which episode he was, but he was in the very first 10. Cameron was on the show in the very first 10. And of course, it was Cameron who connected us with Doug. And so he has been a central hub in all of this. Welcome, Cameron.
It's such an honor to be on. Congratulations, Heath. It's a very big deal to get your 100th episode. You've got a very passionate fan base and community, and it's expanding. And it's good to see my good friends here, both Brianna and Doug. I saw Brianna earlier today because she's also one of my wonderful consulting clients, and she is a fabulous screenwriter. I just, now that Doug held up your book, I just went to Amazon, and I don't like the Kindle version. I'm going to buy like the paperback version. I just put it in my cart.
Oh,
so it's good. And Douglas here. Thank you. I had already purchased my own copy, but I received your very graciously signed copy of the Heroine's Labyrinth, and that was also something I consulted on. So it's wonderful to have both friends and people I've worked with professionally. And you've been the center of all of this, guiding us together. And what it's doing is it's creating creative work. Like, it's not just that you're doing wonderful work for your audience. The people on the screen are helping each other to put out work that's impacting the world. So that's really wonderful what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm. And we do have we have this one on the list too. Like,
yeah, you'll get to it. Whatever.
We'll
you're gonna get to Brianna's 700-page book before
it's
mine.
still on the list. This is the big.
Mine is also like 700.
Oh my goodness!
Mine's big too. So my novel is actually cut down because when I handed in the first draft to my publisher, it was almost 1,000 pages. They're like, yeah, it's not going to work, right? And so I had to cut out almost 400 pages to get into a 600-page novel. So you
cut out a lot more. I had to cut out 10,000 of mine. So that 10,000 pages. I mean, 10,000 words. Oh my god!
Is this a standalone book?
Yes, it is a standalone book. It's one of two that I've published so far through Simon & Schuster. That's first one, Mother of the Believer, is about the birth of Islam from the point of view of the Prophet's wife, and it's that standalone. That's her story. And then the second novel is Shadow of the Swords, which is standalone novel about the Third Crusade, Richard the Lionheart versus Saladin.
Oh wow!
I
want to read that one.
See, you don't even know what the book is. You got it in your hand, Doug. You don't even know what it's about. Read the back cover.
I know what this one is.
We got Mother of Believers.
No. My question was there a follow-up to this one? I know what this one is. I didn't know if your other book was related to this one.
No. It's her life. It's told from her point of view just before her death. So it's pretty much a self-contained story, right?
Not much can happen after that, huh?
There's no sequel.
Well, then we jump forward 400 years to the Crusade. So it's all good. But it's great. It's great. I mean, it's great. And you've got a lot of people in the chat here. Friends are in there. It's wonderful to see all these people.
Well, I should mention right now while I'm thinking about it. Do you see what I'm wearing? This is from the film festival that my film was in.
Yeah. So have you told everybody about it? Let's tell everybody. Congratulations. It's a big deal. She just got her film into a major
Tell us
festival.
about that. Yes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Please just tell us the details. You told me
a
not
film festival in Colorado.
It's like a horror. So there you go. It's a Rocky Mountain Nightmares. So it's like a horror expo, and then they also have a film festival aspect as well. So there's a lot of they had a whole bunch of like celebrities from horror that were there and doing meet and greets and doing like panels and stuff. It was pretty cool. But yeah, so they had a film festival aspect, and they only had about 12 films that got in, and mine was one. Wow. So yeah.
Wow.
And the one that got in is The King?
Yes.
This is The King. Yeah. So we did a review. We did a viewing of that one. So that's the one that we did a viewing of here on Table Talk, The King. So you can watch that on Table Talk if you haven't seen that. So you can watch that. We put it up on the screen since it was something that we owned. So YouTube can't copyright strike us. We put that up. We watched it together, and then Doug and I did a commentary with you on that. Yeah. So that was one episode. So that one went to a film festival.
Yes,
that's awesome.
But it's been submitted to another one, but I'll find out later if it gets in for that one too. But
it's a solid movie. I gave you advice on it, and the end result is you made a very solid movie here. It's a really good introduction to this kind of genre, and I put it out there on my Patreon, and I'm seeing people went there, checked it out. People liked it. The comments in the video, people really liked your film.
Yeah, it's funny because I've talked to Kamran about this. Being an artist, all you can ever see is your own flaws. And when I first made it, I didn't want to release it because I was so like, there are things I wanted to do better. But I finally had enough distance when I watched it at the film festival this weekend that I finally was like distant enough that I could like see it more objectively. And I was like, oh yeah, this was pretty good.
Yeah, we're usually our worst judges.
What'd you say?
We're usually our worst judges.
Yeah, which is good in a sense because it helps you be better, but it also sometimes makes you
be restrictive at times.
Negative way. Yeah. So yes, learning to be better about that and actually submitting to things. And what do you know? Things can happen.
I think that's fantastic.
Let the world reject you, not you. Exactly.
I wonder who told you that.
Oh, I don't know. Who might have
made
said
that phrase? That brilliant turn of phrase. Let the world reject you. Don't do it to yourself. And some brilliant genius writer told you those words.
And Doug just wants to too. Actually, we didn't talk about that. That was just put out too. Doug, you had a short story.
Yes.
He just won awards for his short story.
Yes.
Yeah, the 2004 Next Generation Short Story Award. There were 30 winners, and it's a year-long category. I wrote a horror story, which I usually don't ever write at all. But I had this premise, I had an idea, and I was like, I'm going to write this thing. I don't care. And I did a bunch of research. I cobbled it together and kind of got it until it flowed. And then I submitted it. And when they told me I was on a short list, I was like, oh, that is awesome. And then they're like, you're getting this email because you've either won or you're a finalist. And I was positive I was a finalist. I never would. So I went there to just see my name and had the little I was like I won. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So I was super excited about that. And very unexpected. Like I said, when you're out of your comfort zone, you just don't feel as strong. And I was happy to see that it won. So.
And what was the short story?
What's that?
What was the short story, and where can we find it?
It's I don't know if they posted it yet. I think they said end of May they're going to post it, but it's called The Vaccine. And what's funny is when I mentioned it on Facebook it had like 0 views like 3 hours later, and I'm like, it's about a serum. And then it was like everyone's clicking like on it. I was like, you can't say vaccine anymore.
Wow.
But anyway, the premise is it's about a guy trying to administer a vaccine to a zombie. And I found it interesting because a zombie wouldn't have blood circulating the same way. So the only person that could make fluids move through a dead body is an embalmer from a funeral home. So I have an embalmer in this like high military facility with a doctor in a level 4, it's called a hot morgue, trying to administer a vaccine to an undead zombie strapped to a gurney. And then, of course, it's got a surprise ending.
This just came to me right now. I don't know if you realize this, Doug. There's a massive market for short films right now in Hollywood. To actually turn short films. You just have to submit this and get this in. I think you can sell this as a movie. I don't know if the movie will get made. I mean, right now they're just buying these short films and they don't make them. But they're paying people like $500,000 to buy the short films rights. It
would be pretty low budget.
Yeah,
it wouldn't require a big budget. It has very limited. It has like 2 settings, and they're both in this like next door to each other. So
you might have to change the title to The Serum.
Yeah,
I'm being straight with you because Hollywood's got certain limits on just the title will make them not read the thing, right? But you know what? You and I, let's talk separately because I've got good contacts in the horror world. Let's talk about it separately offline because it just came to me. This is a movie. And right now, if you've read on my Patreon, I've been talking about that there's been a trend in the last 6 months of short stories being purchased for massive amounts of money. You talk about $500,000, $1 million. So far, none of them are getting made, or very few of them are getting made. Doesn't matter. The author was walking away with a major deal, a lot of money, and news that advances their career, right? So you take advantage of Hollywood trends. This is something that's happening right now, and I don't know how long it will remain when people realize most of these short films aren't going to get made. But I think yours can get made. I think that's such a simple idea that can be expanded into a full-length feature horror film.
Well,
we might just have had the beginning of a major horror franchise on cable right now.
Maybe.
That's awesome.
So we'll talk separately offline, but I think I may be able to help you with this.
Okay, that sounds fantastic.
Cameron, what has been going on in your life since the last time you've been on the show?
I'm still alive. That's always a magical thing in this town. I'm still at my career. Are
you sure you're alive? Are you sure you're not a zombie?
Well, that is the philosophical question, right? I mean,
the serum works.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, I mean, as some of you may have seen from my posts, I've been traveling internationally. I decided to take a much-needed vacation from Los Angeles. I went to Malaysia, which I've never been to. I took a week-long trip to Malaysia. Went to Kuala Lumpur, the capital. Went to the beautiful island of Penang, which is sort of the big tourist site. So it's island just off of the coast, and and I had 2 layovers in South Korea where I wish I had gone out of the airport because I spent like 10 hours each, but that Korea was quite lovely, at least inside the airport, and so I got to get out and stuff. But Malaysia was beautiful, and it's a kind of place I've wanted to establish longer term ties with. As I've read about it, it's very it's a kind of place where everyone speaks English. It's former British colony. It's pretty advanced for a quote unquote third world country, and and the healthcare is really good there. So it's the kind of place where I'm like, maybe if I have some money, might buy some property there because property there is everything there is cheap. And if any of you on this panel or in the chat are foodies, I'm a bit of a foodie, right? I love food. It is I kept hearing that it is a foodie paradise. It's absolutely true. I mean, food is the central identity of the culture because it's a very diverse culture. The Malays, they're Chinese, they're Thai, they're Indonesian, and then there's a lot of Indians there. So you have all these ethnicities mixing in. And so you have each of the individual cuisines of those cultures and then various melded cuisines. And it's some of the best food I've ever had in my life. And we're talking about scary hole in the walls were the best Indian foods I've had in years. I mean, and they're incredibly cheap. I kept going to this hole in the wall near my hotel in KL, which is, it's open 24 hours, hole in the wall Indian place. I would go whenever I felt like it, get tandoori chicken. And it was like the equivalent of essentially $1 for a full massive meal. Right. And so it was great.
Wow. That's a great
Malaysia's incredible
for Malaysia.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Malaysia is great. Malaysia's great. I loved it. And but I'm back now, and I'm still surviving this town, doing my thing. We're talking about books. I have my third novel written, and I'm now looking for a new literary agent to put it out there. My former literary agent has retired from the business, and so now I'm trying to figure out, obviously got to get a new literary agent, hopefully put it out. It's my third novel, which those who've been following Patreon have been getting excerpts from it. The novel is fully written, and I'm just putting out a chapter or so a month. It's called The Queen of Persia. It's a novel about the biblical story of Esther. Who was, in the Bible, she's a Jewish woman who essentially becomes the queen of ancient Iran, of sort of pre-Islamic 5th century BC Iran, and fights like an evil vizier who's trying to destroy her people. It's a very popular. It's a very popular story in Judaism and in Christianity. I thought it would be interesting for a Muslim guy to write a Jewish story from a Jewish woman's point of view. The entire novel is her point of view, and this is all pre-Islamic. So the two books I have published are Islamic and post-Islamic. So let's see if I could do it. And the people that have read the book, particularly my Jewish friends who read the book, are quite shocked. They're like, this. It felt like a Jewish person had written this book. It's very hopefully authentic to because my thing is a storyteller. You always want to be authentic to the cultures you're doing it. So the people, the best test is, do people from that culture or that environment feel that it was someone from their culture? When you held up my book, Mother of the Believers, that's written from a woman's point of view, right? It's written from an Arab woman's point of view, the Prophet's wife, Aisha, but it's a woman's point of view. And I still to this day get fan letters from people, from women in particular, who say, I love this book, and I didn't realize a man had written it until I got to the very end, and I opened and there's a little author's picture at the back, right? And they're like, oh, a man wrote this? How could a man, write a woman's voice so authentically? So I wanted to try now to do and what I did in the Crusades was, could I do a fair Christian voice about the Crusades? Being a Muslim, you would think I have certain prejudices about that. I certainly do, right? So can I authentically portray the Crusaders as they saw themselves? They saw themselves as heroic. The people on the other end of it didn't see them that way, and so both points of view are presented in that book. But can I present a Christian's authentic perspective of the Crusades, where they saw themselves as battling off the evil barbaric Muslim hordes in their minds, right? And my Christian friends have said that's some of the most authentic, respectful interpretations of Christian views of that history. And now I'm doing the third thing. Can I do a Jewish point of view? And as those of you who are watching world events, obviously there's a lot of tension between Iran and Israel today. So here's a chance to write a book that has an Iranian Jewish woman as the heroine. And so can we use it as a bridge of culture? So hopefully, I'm in the process right now of looking for a new literary agent. Hopefully I'll be able to put it out there. We'll see. Otherwise, all of you on Patreon just going to keep getting a chapter a month and you'll get it.
See, this is why I love these conversations. It's like, oh my God, these things make me want to be chomping or get me chomping at the bit to go and do something else, because I feel like I'm always the one behind. When I was in academia, it was the same way. I'd go to a convention and then be like, oh my God, you leave psyched up. It was like, oh my God, I've got to do so much more stuff. When we have a table talk, I feel that way after a table talk.
A positive feeling, I suppose, as long as you don't let that bring you down.
No, it fires me up. That's why I do all this. The live streams fire me up. They give me energy. I tell everybody that the table talk, because of conversing with all of you, the morning grind live stream on the Heath's Geekverse channel. I'm like, every time I have that, I get fired up after I'm off the live stream. These things give me energy. Hey, Jason.
Good.
Welcome.
Good.
Awesome.
Cameron, we don't often talk about this here, but I suppose now would be a good time. Because a lot of what you also do on your Patreon and stuff is insider Lucasfilm knowledge. Okay. And you have been dropping bomb shells, because we talk about story, we talk about stuff like that. But this is also a good time to talk about you've been dropping bombs recently.
Well, I've been dropping the information I've been given and from people I trust, and it can seem like bombs to people that don't know what's going on, and it often contradicts the narrative that often takes hold of the YouTube world. You know, your channel is immune to a lot of the propaganda that's out there because
we try not to do that.
Well, I mean, I
recently unsubscribed from a YouTuber I will not name that was doing this stuff. It crossed a line for me. It was just like shitting on a movie. And I was like, you're so out of touch that you're shitting on that movie. Never mind.
Well, yeah. and often, sadly, it's not even an authentic perspective. It's what they think is going to be what their audience wants to feed the narrative, to feed the algorithm. Right. And so, you know, a lot of the information or the stories that are out there about what's happening with Star Wars, Lucasfilm, are by people who, aside from the fact they don't know anything and don't really have any contacts, despite their claims to having insiders, right? That they have an agenda, which is to keep presenting certain points of view, which will generate clicks. And Heath, you and I have talked about the fact you always want to keep your channel honest with integrity. It means slower growth at times. It means slow and steady, but it also means a higher caliber of people involved. Yeah. I mean, you've gotten some these lovely people on this panel with me, right? You've got these people, but you know, you've gotten major significant figures in the industry to come on here because you have a reputation of being a decent person who isn't just trying to get clicks. These are not the kind of people that are going to go on to the channels. Like Christopher Vogler came on this channel, right? And that's a highly respected story writer and story analyst in Hollywood, man who really made history, with his hero's journey book. And he came on this channel. I don't see him on any of the quote unquote big channels because he's not going to do that. He's not going to degrade himself with cheapsters like that. And so this is the value that you're building on this channel. So yeah, I mean, I can jump into Star Wars stuff, but I want to take a moment to really praise what you've created here,
Thank you.
Which also is slow and steady. I mean, you've got look at this chat here. You've got solid people who are enthused, and that they're going to keep building.
And we also broke
quality over quantity.
Doug was saying that we also actually just broke this channel off of the Heath Geekverse channel and made Table Talk its own thing 8 months ago. Doug looked that up. So
August 22nd.
Like, you know what? This channel, this idea needs to be its own brand, and so we broke Table Talk off 8 months ago.
Well, and what's interesting, I'll say, following Cameron, I followed Cameron for probably years now. It's kind of crazy how much time flies, but
time is compressed in this YouTube world.
It is. It's amazing. And so, you hear all these different stories and different scoops, and what's amazing is they are sometimes in direct contradiction. And I realized maybe a year ago, I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I am hearing like this and then this, and they're completely incompatible scoops. And I was like, this is crazy. And I was almost getting like tired of the job, but I was like, you know what? One of these guys is wrong.
And that's correct. Either someone has quit a show or has not quit a show. One of these two statements is true. The other one cannot be true.
Right. So, and I know the exact incident where I was like, all right, I am going to stand on this hill and die until I figure out who the heck knows what they're talking about in the industry. And at the time, it honestly seemed like Cameron was wrong. And I realized that what has happened with Cameron understands an overarching design in the nonsense, while a lot of other YouTubers understand the obvious thing that's in front of their face. And when I came to the conclusion, and I was being very scrutinizing about this whole situation.
Oh yeah, I got your DMs where you were questioning me. I remember those.
Yeah,
DMs.
To 100%. I was like, how do you explain? Like, I just didn't understand, and now I understand. And what's funny is this: if you understand the overarching situation,
it's politics.
You can start to hear and weed out all the other noise in between. And the beautiful thing is, to this day, more news is breaking. The overarching situation that Cameron explained years ago is still holding up. And there's just a lot of noise in the middle, in between then and now. And that's what those YouTubers capitalize, the noise in between that and this. And Cameron doesn't get involved in this. He has the overarching idea.
I try to tell the truth as I've experienced it, as I know it, and from people I've come to trust and who I know. I mean, example. So you asked me to talk about something. So we just had on my Patreon. For those who are not members, please come join. $5 is worth your time. It really is worth your time. But for example, we had an article I put out today, which is big news in the fandom that the controversial Phoebe Waller-Bridge, has just sold straight to series Amazon show about Lara Croft, about Tomb Raider, right? So obviously many people who don't like Ms. Waller-Bridge are upset about that. But so this is and I'm sure I haven't bothered to go to what I call the blob channels, because they're like this. They're like, I use the term blob because it's like they're like a 1950s science fiction blob, right? That just sucks up all the light wherever they go and just consumes everything without any mind. So the blob channels, I'm sure, are right now screaming about Hollywood Vokesters put Phoebe Waller-Bridge to corrupt and destroy Lara Croft. I'm sure they're doing that, right? Because that's the narrative, like Doug said, that's the official narrative that you would say on the surface of things. But guess what? The article I wrote on Patreon is I happen to know her partner on this project very well, Dimitri Johnson, who is the executive producer, who is the rights holder of Tomb Raider at this point. And Dimitri, I've known Dimitri. He's been a friend since 2010. I actually went back to, when did I meet this guy? I went back, found the original emails of my agent introduced me to him as a young, ambitious producer, who was really into like getting the rights to video games and stuff. He was a fan. He was a geek who wanted to get the rights to these things before anybody thought of getting them, right? And I met with him. I was like, this young guy's got something, right? There's a genius there that I could tell that this young guy had something. And we've been friends since 14 years we've known each other, right? And so it's been a long time. And in that time, he's grown to a very successful producer. And I worked with him. I worked with Dimitri on a particular pitch, a project, a horror pitch that we were going out with together. And when we went out to a major producer, who's involved in one of the big horror franchises, and I was very excited. And at the meeting with the producer, he tried to pull a fast one on me, basically. The meeting had been to make a deal. The producer had a fund to finance development of scripts, right? But basically, he was trying in the meeting to convince me to just write on spec this thing, and that he wouldn't have to pay me, but would still get control of the project, right? And I'm a former lawyer. I knew this guy is taking me for a ride, and I knew that his goal was to screw me. I knew it in the room, and I felt my heart sinking because I didn't expect it, right? And Dimitri is sitting there, and as other major producers, much more powerful than Dimitri, have thrown me under the bus in those circumstances. They have thrown me under the bus and said, Kamran, do what needs to be done. Don't create a drama about this. You want to work with this person. Dimitri, who didn't have the power of those producers that have done that to me, in the room said, no, I don't like this. In the room, he said to the producer, I don't like this. I don't like what you're doing here. This isn't right. I mean, this was a meeting that he set up, his contact, and he got perturbed. He's like, this is what you're doing is wrong. It's bullshit.
Wow, that's rare.
I didn't bring Kamran in here to be treated like this. So I'm so sorry. We're not going to be able to go down. This is Dimitri doing it, where his job is to make the movie, and his job should be to convince me to take one for the team. He said, no, I don't like that. It's not how I do business. And we got up and we left, and the producer was shocked. Right? I was shocked. That's Dimitri Johnson. This is a man of integrity. He is a fan. He got into this. He got into this because he loves tabletop gaming. He loves video games. He loves fantasy worlds. He gets into that out of passion. So I don't know how he got the rights to Tomb Raider, but he got the rights to Tomb Raider, right? And so when Amazon wanted to make Tomb Raider, they had to deal with him, right? And so now I know, because that's what I'm writing on my Patreon. Dimitri is my friend. I sent him a personal congratulations text when I saw that. He texted me back. I asked him, you got a job on the show, man? I'll work on the show with you. And he responded, we're still trying to figure out our staffing situation, but thanks for letting me know. So this is direct communication with the rights holder and the executive producer of Tomb Raider, right? That you're not going to get from these YouTube morons. You're not going to get these from the blob. You're just going to get this. You're going to get, we got Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I know if this guy can tell a top horror producer that he wants me in business with, I don't like what you're doing, it's wrong, and I'm out. He's going to be able to tell Phoebe, Phoebe, I don't think that's the direction we want to go in. Because I know the audience. I'm a fan. I know Lara Croft is sexy. She's adventurous. Whatever. If you have other political stuff, maybe let's rein that back in, because he's too smart for that. Because he's a fan. And so that's information that I give on my Patreon that you're not going to get anywhere else, because these people are my circle. Right? They're my inner circle.
Cameron is, how big cities have like the highway that goes around downtown? Kamran goes that way. The YouTubers go right through the heart of downtown and make all their living there. In every traffic jam that they get caught in.
I also feel like there's a fair amount of like disillusionment in the event, like the situations when they're being authentic, I think. And they're not just doing it for
their hearts are broken because all of our hearts are broken for the last 10 years. I mean, entertainment was derailed. That I mean, you guys have talked about it on this channel, right? But you've brought on so many guests that still love this world and are trying to make it better. And that's the thing, is that's why you're not cynical.
I guess so. I guess that's the benefit of being a creative, is that you can be less cynical because you have hope of like, oh, I'm going to be contributing, I'm going to be part of this, and so I want to be part of making things better. And you can put that energy into that instead of just being frustrated.
If you love
that's
stories,
what I do. I agree.
Use what you love and put it into your stuff, and live and die with it.
Yep. Not everyone is a creative, and some people are just going to be fans, and that's fine.
Sure.
So I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the solution is there.
But the tragedy is out the blobs. They present themselves as experts when in reality is they're just fans, often disillusioned fans. And they started off presenting themselves as that. I'm angry about The Last Jedi. I'm creating this channel to talk about it, right? Then they later became, well, I got all the inside information. I'm sitting, in Tallahassee. I got all the information of what's going on there. I was like, you can have contacts in Tallahassee, but you need to really have those contacts, right? And so, it's frustrating for me because I am both a fan like everyone here. I'm a creative person like everyone here, and I'm also in the craziness of this business, and I've survived it. I've survived 23 years of losing, of being beaten down, and still making stuff happen, right? So that's why I can see the Machiavellian nature of things. I can see, like I'm saying, sitting there in that meeting, I knew immediately the guy was trying to steal the project from me. I knew immediately he was going to steal the project from me, and that was why he didn't want to pay me $1. Right? I knew it because I've been through it a few times, right? So that's what happens when you understand machinations. So Heath, you were putting up a comment?
Well, I clicked. I will say so. I clicked this X-Man of War. I was going to say great comment. Kamran works in Hollywood, doesn't use a fake name, doesn't hide his face, and doesn't distort his voice. If he were lying about any of this, his career would be over. Just something to think about.
Correct. Guess what? People know I'm doing this. Guess what? Kathleen Kennedy ain't ever going to work with me. Not that I want to work with her. Not that I think she has anything to offer me, right? But if I'm a problem, Dimitri ain't going to work with me. Right? If I have the reputation of being a liar and making weird stuff up on YouTube, Dimitri ain't going to be hiring me for his show. Right? If people don't grasp that, is that by doing this, by putting my face on the line, there are risks and there are losses involved. To add to that, by making stuff up is just insanity, right?
That would be suicide.
Suicide. You would get yourself caught in a trap in about 2 seconds if someone fed,
Right.
I mean, it would be ridiculous.
Well, but example, one of the reasons, and it's actually worked out for the best, Heath, because I'm on your channel. I'm on the quote unquote smaller channels now, like yours, like Latino Slant, like Zach's, other really good channels. Good, solid.
I gotta have Paulie on. Paulie's got to come over here too.
Paul, I mean, they're great, and so these are all good people, like people I friends, people I can introduce to my mom, and we can hang out, right? Okay, and the reason I'm focusing on these channels now is the quote unquote bigger channels, the blob channels, don't want me anymore, right? And that process actually began last year. Now for a while, because I started saying the narrative was always Star Wars sucks, this sucks, everything sucks, it's never going to get any better. Woke. I said, no, things are changing, things are getting better, and they didn't want to hear that, but they needed a way to get rid of me because I was popular with their audiences. So there was this manufactured scandal, which was so shocking to me last year, where I had, through my contacts, been in touch with the lawyer who represents Karen McCarthy, who is the producer of The Acolyte that was fired, the line producer who sued, right? And so he reached out to me when he heard I was making these videos. Karen had apparently seen me on one of the videos, and she reached out to me and said, "What do you know? What do you know? Can you talk to me?" And so he and I had some conversations, and with his permission, I posted some of the things we talked about. And then some of these big channels started saying, Kamran never talked to that guy. We called him. What they did was these randos called him, and he didn't know who they were. He said, "Yeah, I talked to somebody. I don't really have a lot of information about it. Thanks for just because that's what he's going to protect his client. He doesn't know these.
He doesn't owe anybody.
He's got to protect his client. Randos call his office and say, did you talk to Kamran Pasha? Did you say this, this, and this? He's like, I talked to somebody. I don't know what I said. That as a lawyer, that's what you say. You don't know what this rando is, how they're going to damage a client's case. You don't know their agenda. And so he didn't give any information. And they used that to say Kamran never spoke to him. We have it directly from him. The guy's a liar. Guess what? Go to my Instagram. You'll see photos of me in his office with the attorney. I mean, maybe I Photoshopped those. But I mean, the rationality of me making up, a former lawyer making up contact with a top entertainment litigator who could sue the hell out of me, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact is that became a narrative, and that narrative pushed me off all the major channels because they needed a reason to get rid of me because I was messing up the narrative.
Social media is like that.
and the end result is I'm on lovely channels like yours who have integrity, and that's where I belong.
Thank you, Kamran.
Here.
we have another guest who just came into the green room who is coming over, and this is an introduction that I have wanted to make for some time because Kamran, I don't think you have been on a stream with Lou Anders, even though I know that I've talked to you, Kamran, about Lou, and I know when I've been talking to Lou, I've been talking about Kamran. So our next guest, who is also actually Lou, was the very first guest ever on Table Talk.
Oh, wow.
Table Talk #1, Lou Anders. Welcome, Lou.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome.
And congratulations on 100.
Thank you very much, Lou. So, Lou, like we were just talking about Star Wars. So, I don't know if we actually addressed this on when you've been on, but Lou is one of the people who does everything that everyone wants to do because Lou has published his own fantasy worlds through traditional publishing with novels. Lou has published his own stories through independent publishing. He then does his own game publishing company. He has also gotten contracts with major IP to produce books, which is our Star Wars connection right here. So here's one of them. Here is Star Wars: A Pirate's Price. And Lou, so this book right here, Star Wars: A Pirate's Price, explains why the Millennium Falcon is at Batu?
Batu, why it's parked at
why it's parked there.
Place at Batu.
So,
and this is an official Lucasfilm book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. That's huge.
So, Lou, do you, since we're just talking about Star Wars, and I don't think we talked about this channel before, do you want to start by telling everybody about how you got this contract and about this book? Because people will probably love to know that, because you've created part of Star Wars canon, right?
Yep. We got to keep our stars straight. They came to me and asked me if I wanted to write it. And it was part of the Pirate's Price was part of the Flight of the Falcon series, which was a lead up to the ride opening, the first ride, the Smuggler's Run ride opening at Disney. And so there's a series of books about the Millennium Falcon, but they came to me and said, you want to write a Star Wars novel? And the answer to that is always yes. And they said, great, we need your outline. I think it was like 6 weeks. And what they wanted was not just one story. They wanted to have Hondo tell 3 stories of 3 separate encounters with the Millennium Falcon across its history. And then the framing narrative also had to have a story that would then resolve all the other books. So it was, come up with 4 stories and a resolution to the whole series in the next 6 weeks. and then actually it was 2 weeks. I'm sorry, it was 2 weeks, and then write it in 6. So it was some of the hardest stuff I've ever done in my life. But it was also a blast. You work with the story department there, a team of people who all have different jobs in maintaining the references and the continuities. And they're there to answer questions and things. I'm not supposed to talk too much about that process, but one of the really fun things that happened was you can probably I'm not going to tilt my camera, but it's still on the shelf behind me, the X-Wing miniatures game. I had just gotten into that, and I needed a scene where a number of pirate ships, smuggler ships, attacked the Millennium Falcon. And I already had the Falcon for X-Wing, but I asked the story reference guys what ship would be the most common ship or the best ship for this, and they recommended a ship, and we went out and bought 3 of them. And then my eldest child and I ran that battle twice through, and I took notes, and that became that chapter of the book.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Well, see, that's what a true fan does, right?
They play, yeah.
I mean, you're playing. I mean, that's the joy of any of us who want to be involved in Star Wars is you get to play. You get to play with the toys from your childhood.
And it's wonderful how well that game system captured the dogfights because it really worked.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'm super proud of is that I created a porg named Puffy, and Puffy has shown up in a comic book since then.
Oh.
And has
Are you getting something out of that, Lou? Are you getting something out of the character?
And it has his own
Of course, he got
Instagram
all the
account.
rights.
It has its own Instagram account.
Did you create it?
No. Actually, a fan created the Puffy the Porg Instagram account.
What? That's awesome.
But I was really psyched to see that Puffy crossed over into the
Puffy made it.
Comics. Yep.
Wow.
That's
I'm hoping a few of the other characters will cross over, but so far I don't think they have.
But what about the audiobook?
Oh, so I was having lunch with my editor, and I didn't know they did audiobooks. I said, "You guys don't do audiobooks, do you?" And she goes, "Yeah, we do audiobooks." And I said, "Well, have you approached Jim Cummings to do the audio?" And she said, "I think they already have somebody." And I said, "Well, I mean, have you asked him?" And so she called up the audio department, and they're like, "Yeah,
Why is he important for people who don't know?
Oh, he's the voice of Hondo Anaka and 1,000 other Disney characters." And they asked him, and he said yes. And so he does the audio. And it's, Hondo's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, but across his maybe 18 or so appearances in 2 series, he probably has 100 lines. And so this was the most Hondo Jim has ever done at one time because it's the whole book. And some of my favorite bits is when Hondo is reminiscing about encountering Han Solo. You get to hear Hondo impersonating Han Solo.
Oh, okay.
Jim is doing Hondo doing Han, and it's hysterical. And
it's like 3 layers of impersonating right there.
And it's so good. It's so good. The audiobook is definitely the way to consume this one if you can.
Sable Pheonix for $5 says that's like Michael Stackpole playing out all battles in his BattleTech novels using the tabletop game. This is a grand tradition.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. That's the connection between tabletop gaming and our storytelling. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, but then Lou, you've been publishing some tabletop game stuff lately.
Quite a bit. So the flashback is in 2021. I published the first the campaign setting using 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Now, that's of your fantasy world. That's not Star Wars. It's of your
that's not Star Wars. So I have a fantasy trilogy out from Penguin Random House. That's the Thrones and Bones series: Frostborn, Nightborn, and Skyborn. And they're middle grade books for 8 to 12-year-olds, but they're written to be like The Hobbit, so that anybody, I have fans that are 5 and I have fans that are 65. And the setting of just the first book is a very Scandinavian inspired land called Norengard. It's
Valhalla. It even sounds Norse, right? So yes,
it would be Norengard, but Norengard. To anglicize it, and it's just the setting of the first novel. It's not the setting of the other novels. And but I took that setting and made a campaign setting out of it for D&D for anybody who plays D&D. It's not a children's game, and that has really taken off. There's the campaign setting, then there's a hardcover book of separate adventures, and then there is a short story anthology with a gamer's appendix in the back, so the characters in the short stories are statted out in the magic items. And that was actually written by, I'm not in it. It's written by 10 other authors. Actually, 11 other authors writing 10 other stories called Tales from Stokey's Hall. And then we put out a campaign-length adventure called Vengeance of the Valraven. There is a soundtrack. There's a guy out in L.A. named David Joseph Wesley who does a lot of work with Nickelodeon and television and commercials, and he's a Star Wars fan. And he called me up and asked if he could make a soundtrack for my game. And so he did 10 songs inspired by, 10 songs inspired by, that's the trade edition, not the game edition. There's a deluxe game edition, and then there's a regular trade edition of that, Tales from Stokey's Hall. But he did a 10-song soundtrack, and he got in touch with a guy in Norway or Finland who had taken actual shields and axes out of Viking graves and recorded the sound of the axe striking the shield. So there's a percussive beat in the theme song that is an actual historical act. It's metal on metal from a Viking grave forming the percussion of the theme song, which is so cool.
That's badass.
Wow.
And
that
then,
is a sound effect that has been earned.
He took it from a grave.
That is hardcore, Lou.
And there's someone out there that's going to go,
that level
that
of hardcore.
doesn't sound authentic to me.
Yeah, there'll be somebody out there. He was like, that sounds like AI.
Yeah, when I stole an axe from a grave and hit it against a shield, it sounded a little different.
And I just want to point out, Lure of the Land Kraken.
Yep.
I don't know if you can see it here, but in Lou's collection of short stories about his world, Ed Greenwood.
Yep.
Ed Greenwood is one of the authors. So Ed Greenwood is in the Tales of Stokey.
I was quite happy to have that involved.
Yes. So, like I said, we got major connections here in Table Talk.
That's awesome.
And it was kind of funny because everybody, I briefed all my authors on what Scandinavian villages were like and what the do's and don'ts, and everyone still wrote cobblestone streets and 3-story houses with kitchens, and
the default.
Strip it back out, and it's wooden plank streets, long houses, wattle and dab huts, a central fireplace, no separate rooms, goats live inside with the people.
It sounds like the founding of America. I mean, it's like it sounds like Little House on the Prairie. That's our answer.
Ed wrote a multi-story house with separate rooms, and I'm like, all right, fine. It was a wizard that lives there. He's he gets the exception. He's Ed if that's what he wants. But I did take out his cobblestone streets. But it's a great story. And then most recently with the post OGL controversy, who I'm sure your listeners know what that is. We
were just talking about it earlier in the stream.
Yeah. So I've switched to designing for Cobalt Press's Black Flag. So I had 2 adventures in their partner pack with both of the Cobalt Press Black Flag Kickstarters, the Tales of the Valiant Kickstarter and then the Game Master's Guide Kickstarter. And those are both out. And then I wrote the first one. Any winner, Brian Suskin wrote the second one. There's a third one that's not part of a Kickstarter that's coming out this summer from Kelly Pollack called Troll of the Town. And then Richard Pett and I have collaborated on Fury of the Forsaken, which will be the 4th one in the series, which will come out later in the year or early next year. And then on top of that, I'm taking my original player's guide, and translating it to Black Flag and expanding it. And that'll be out very, very soon. And working on a mass combat system for Black Flag.
Oh, wow.
So you sound rather busy. You sound like you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, I was about to make a joke about how maybe you're not doing enough or
No, I know. And again, this is one of those things that I'm sitting here taking notes. I'm going, okay, wait a minute. I feel like Lou is exceeding me in productivity.
Well, you have always been my inspiration, buddy. You're one of the most driven people I know. So
I can confirm that.
Only driven people are going to feel that.
Both of you beat yourself up for not being as productive and you're ridiculously creating stuff all the time.
Right. Yeah. Only people that are driven are going to feel that oh, okay, I got to do more. Now
I told Lou that in the second season, we're taking about a 3-week break, but to work on the second season, the after Table Talk 100, I have Lou on record saying that he will come back to talk about his theory of story structure. Because I have listened to Lou's philosophy of story and his what is it, 7 character, the web network? Was it 7?
I thought it was 5.
Well, there's it's so long. How many is it? There's the central triangle of 3 characters, and then you have the ancillary characters that are 6 more, I believe.
Okay, so and
you might have to brush up on your own theories here.
Story.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Lou's got a lot of stuff that's coming out. So he told me that he would come back because he's got a lot of stuff to promote the stuff that's coming out, and that he would give his discussion on his character web, which I remember, which is one of the very first times that Lou and I sat down and talked together, and we went to a Starbucks, and you gave me the lecture on the character web. Of this character web, and it was amazing. And I think about it all the time, especially your idea of the bad example. I think about that all the time. And so Lou's going to bring it here to Table Talk in season 2. After episode 100, he's going to come back and he's going to explain it all.
Yeah, Lou, there's been a couple things that that have stuck with me from the last time when you and I were on at the same time. You had said some of that discussion, some of that web theory and some of the different archetypal patterns that you picked out. And a couple of those have stuck with me, and I've used a couple in the book I'm writing now. So specifically the orphan and the bad example are big ones for me.
I love the bad example. So if people are wondering what that is, I mean, Luke can explain it, but like when you think about the original Star Wars and you think about Luke Skywalker, I love the idea of having a character in the story that is the example of what would happen if the main character makes all the wrong choices. Do you want to explain that, Luke?
Yeah, well, so I guess I can just go through it. So there's 8 character wheel around the central character. And you have the central character, the protagonist, and then you have the mentor and the bad example. And then you have the thinker and the feeler, and you have the believer and the doubter. And you can match in so many movies, you can match every character to that wheel, and you'll find that like everything that's dictated about what they say and what they do is about their position on the wheel.
And Lou, by the way, has a fantastic example of all of this about the Marvel movies that we'll go through in a later episode.
Well, we can do Star Wars right now if y'all want, which is
go Star Wars. Go
Luke
Star Wars.
Skywalker, original Star Wars, just the original Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is the protagonist. Who is the antagonist?
I won't answer because I know. Doug or Kamran.
Well, I mean, if you would ask me normally, but now you give me some context for your theory. So, I mean, normally one would say that Darth Vader is the antagonist, right?
Wrong. What does Darth Vader do to drive the action of the original Star Wars movie? Who built the Death Star?
Well, he was the Emperor, right?
No. Well, I mean, who?
Well, I guess Tarkin.
Okay. Who orders the destruction of Alderaan?
It's Tarkin. Yeah.
Right. Who lets them go so they can catch them?
Although I will add to that, Tarkin says to Vader, it's his idea, and I'm taking a risk here.
But Tarkin is the one in charge. He's he's
the one that can say
go
ahead.
Well, Vader and Luke have almost no interaction until the very final, trench run.
Movies. Vader graduates
really a villain, not necessarily the
second one, but he's not. Sure. He's a minion.
That's fair. So Tarkin, and the final scene is Tarkin staring out before the Death Star blows, right? So I think that's fair. Yeah.
So, mentor, pretty obvious.
R2D2.
R2.
Mentor. Everyone always goes Yoda, and I'm like, what film did you watch? Yoda wasn't in the first film, but Obi-Wan Kenobi. Really the mentor. Right. So the bad example is who the protagonist will become if they don't solve their central conflict. In Star Wars, the conflict of Star Wars is faith versus technology. It's turn off your guidance computer and rely on the Force to guide you. It's
which, by the way, Drake also says this is true.
So the bad example is who the protagonist will become if they do not solve the central conflict and embrace the change they need to make. Is who?
Gold leader?
I would argue it's Han Solo then.
Nope.
It's Vader. It is Vader.
It's Vader. Vader is the person who couldn't let go. Vader
could not let go of technology.
He's literally got technology implanted in his body. He's a man of faith, but he has technology implanted in his body.
He's a Jedi who cannot let go of technology.
And I also want to add. Can I add something real quick too? Because I also feel like in so many ways, Luke is like the character that did the right things, right? Because they're both tempted by the dark side. Yep. So Anakin does fall to the dark side, but then Luke doesn't. So that's another way that he would be that example of, because he is genuinely tempted.
The believer and the doubter are two characters that the believer knows who the hero is from the get-go, knows that the hero is the only one that can do it, knows what you got to do, where you got to go, has utter unshaking faith in the plot to unfold as it's meant to, and the doubter doubts everything.
Han Solo is the doubter.
Mm-hmm. Is he?
What? Yeah. I don't know.
A lot of simple tricks and nonsense.
He doubts the Force, but he doesn't doubt himself.
Oh, doubt himself.
He's full of bravado. Who's the character that hates everything?
I guess 3PO doubts it.
3PO.
I guess on space travel. This isn't going to work. The odds of surviving an asteroid field. Oh, that's the second film. I can't stand R2D2. I don't know why you.
Yeah, and he's the first character that speaks. Oh no, right? His words are oh no.
The whole movie. So who's the believer?
R2D2?
Yeah. He gets the plans. He knocks 3PO into the escape pod. He sets out across the desert by himself. When Luke gets him, he sets out across the desert by himself again. He gets them into the facility where they can hold up for a while. He knows when it's time to go. laser blasts are going back and forth, and he just goes right down the middle of the hallway. He's not afraid of getting hit, and he's totally positive. He's just beep, 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 beep. He's upbeat, literally, the whole film against 3PO's bitching. So then you have the thinker and the feeler. The feeler is the character who acts totally on instinct and rushes in where angels fear to tread.
Han.
Leia? Oh, Han.
Charges down the hallway after all the stormtroopers, and then realizes he's outnumbered and runs back the other way. And the thinker is the character who sees what the hero is doing and makes their own plans that are complementary.
Princess Leia.
Yeah. She has the plans. She says, "You call this a rescue. Someone has to get us out of here."
Yeah. I'm in charge,
She is complementary thinker, the smartest person in the cast.
Here's what's brilliant.
Oh, go ahead.
I love when Doug was like, "So who is the bad example?" It could be Han. Like, I see why people would say Han. I know I'm familiar with Lou's philosophy, so I understand why it's Darth Vader. But I understand why people might say Han. But that's complementary to the idea about how beautifully Star Wars is done. That on the physical level, you have the rebellion and the Empire versus rebellion. But on the spiritual level, or the invisible layer, you have faith versus technology. And Star Wars has a character in each one of those places that are always in conflict with one another. Who is the character who is on the Empire side, who is on the side of faith? Darth Vader. Who is the character who is on the Empire side, who is on the side of technology? Grand Moff Tarkin. Yeah. Who is on the Rebel side, who is on the side of faith? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who is on the Rebel side, who is on the side of technology? Han Solo. And so whether and Drake brings that sometimes the Empire is up, sometimes the rebellion is up, sometimes faith is up, sometimes technology is up, and it bounces between those quadrants.
So that's awesome. The last point is that when you look at the people and the roles they occupy allegorically in the story, then look at the roles that they actually occupy, and they're paired. So Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader are two old Jedi. Mm-hmm. R2-D2 and C-3PO are two robots, two droids. And Han Solo and Princess Leia are a rogue and a princess, which is such an old pairing. They added a rogue to Tangled when there wasn't one in the story. And it works like that. So sometimes if you're watching a movie and you can identify one of the two pairings, but you don't know who the other character is, look for what they're doing in the story.
Sure.
Like Man of Steel is not a great film, but you have The Believer is Lois Lane and The Doubter is Perry White, a journalist and an editor. Mm-hmm. I almost want to do Avengers real quick.
We're gonna have let's say when you come on, we're gonna have a little bit. You're gonna come back, Lou, right?
Yeah.
We do this. Okay. We've got another person waiting in the green room. Now, once you come on, like Cameron and Lou and anybody else, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, but also as short as you want as well. We have another person waiting in the green room who's also a very important person to Table Talk and everything that I have been doing. This is Chuck Bush, and he was also one of the he might have been Table Talk number 3, maybe 2, number 4, something like that. I mean, he is very early Table Talk. I got to know him because when I was living in Anniston, Alabama, he started to run film classes at Longleaf Studios in Jacksonville, Alabama. And basically, he is the reason that I was able to do all of the Cultists and everything that we have been doing with film, the Cultist season 1 and season 2 and all of this. He is really the one who taught me what I need to know in order to go and do those things, and he's the reason that I went and did them. This is Chuck Bush. Welcome, Chuck.
So I'm to blame. Is that what you're saying? I'm to blame.
Someone's got to be.
Let's blame Chuck. No problem. Blame the old guy. That's good. Hey, y'all, how you doing?
Welcome,
congratulations, brother. 100 of these. That's crazy.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Yes, because like I said, you've been a huge part of this. I think you've only been on one of the episodes, but you've been a huge part of the whole story and the progress here.
Now with the fat jokes, really nice. Thank you.
But when I think we talked, because one of and we've clipped this on the Table Talk channel because Chuck has actually built an entire ancient Roman Jerusalem for one of his short films, because one of his short films it was filmed on the day in a gymnasium the day the Romans broke through in the siege of Jerusalem.
So
and
talk about 70 AD then.
Yes, that is exactly right.
And when I was looking at that, I was like, I saw these pictures on Instagram, and I was like, God, this is amazing. Like, to be able to build this type of set in order to produce this type of film, that was amazing, Chuck.
You got pictures? Can you show us? Can you? Because I'm actually working on a script and a book that's set around the story of James, the brother of Jesus, which culminates in the destruction of Jerusalem. So yes, I know that period really well.
Let me see if I can find it. I'll try.
Yeah, check it out, because I definitely don't keep my pictures of my work. But what we did that was very cool is, and I give props to my visual effects artist, my lead artist. We used Unreal Engine. So we built the set, and then built it digitally. Took out the buildings that were practical, real buildings, and then shot through the camera. And we did the follow real-time compositing inside of Unreal Engine, and that was when Unreal Engine was only 4.25. Now we did.
How long ago was that?
That was there's our village right there. That's all the actual village we had. That was 2020. That was in the height of the pandemic. That's a school gymnasium, and all of the that's my dad. Hi, Dad. Okay. He wasn't there, but that's okay.
Go up. Some
Steel
parts
infrastructure. Of it. That's all foam that was created. Now the floor is concrete pavers, and the walls are made of styrofoam. That styrofoam. Our lead painter, it was a magician, and I don't think I didn't put up, I don't think, any of the finals, but you can see that big arched door kind of straight in the middle of the picture. To the right of that was a 20-foot high, 20-foot across green screen. And then kind of to the left, past the first building on the left, was a 20-foot high, I think it was a 30-foot long green screen. And then we just real-time composited. And then in post, we added some edge work. And that was it. That short film was called The Narrow Path. And it won 21 film festivals, including Best Visual Effects.
Where can we watch The Narrow Path? Where can we watch it? Is it on YouTube? How can we see it?
Actually, I have it on Vimeo, and I can send a link to you, Heath, and you can send it to these folks. It's really not for public consumption.
I mean, that's probably worth an episode to talk about, because a future episode we can watch the film and comment on it, because I know the period already, Chuck, because I know the period a little bit from my own work, and I've been to Jerusalem several times, and so I've been to the areas. As you know, Jerusalem's been built over many, many, many times, but I've seen some of the old. There's still some of the old Roman road work that's visible in East Jerusalem, right? In the old city, I've seen it. It's exactly what you did there. I mean, it's parallel. I mean, the stonework is exactly that.
Thank you. Yeah,
wow,
that's
Narrow Path movie right here.
That's us. Is it on there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a trailer. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the film, the story, explore the production. Yeah. We should totally watch this and have a discussion of this.
Go back down a little bit. Go back down a little bit, please.
Oh, down.
A little bit more. Under the other way. I'm sorry.
Oh, up. Okay.
Up or down? Which one?
Well, right there.
Also, Pella. I mean, you go to Pella, which is where my story culminates, because that's where the Nazarenes fled to during the invasion.
That's correct. That girl that you see right there, she actually is in Pella, and that's her father. And they have a conversation between them about the Messiah and about she's left for Pella, and so yeah, it's all in there.
That's incredible. I definitely want to watch this film and do commentary on it.
No,
it'd be great if you were able to come in.
Right now, we need to do the Narrow Path commentary. That's season 2 coming up. Season 2 going on into the Narrow Path commentary.
Yeah, I think there may be some of it. My company that did that, I own production companies and I own a post and visual effects company, and that is audaciousfx.com.
And so the title is a reference. The title is a reference to Jesus' parable about the straight way is a narrow path, right? That's the reference. Is that right?
That's the reference.
Matthew? Okay.
Yeah, but it's actually a centurion who our main character is a Jew. His daughter is a Christian from Pella, living in Pella, and he's trying to escape as the Roman army enters, and a Roman soldier grabs him and says, "No," he draws an ichthus on the ground, and he says, "Don't try to go that way. Take the narrow path," and that's the reference to the story.
Well, we're going to definitely do an analysis of this because
let's definitely do an analysis of that one.
Yeah.
Well, what a treat. Thank you. What an honor. It was. I got to tell you guys, I have without a doubt the most amazing visual effects team, and my lead artist. He's the kind of guy. He's so hungry. I mean, if you ask him a question, if he doesn't know, give him 30 minutes. He'll run down every tutorial. When I tell you we did the visual effects on that film using the Vive trackers, and we used the Ursa 4. I think it was a 4.2 camera. The Ursa Mini 4. I think it was a 4. Was it a 4.2? I think so. 4.6 maybe. Anyway, we came straight out of the camera to the computer, which you saw in that shot with the green screen that I want to show you guys. Out of the camera, SDI into the computer, out of the computer back to a monitor, the Ninja recording monitor. And so we did the real-time composite in the computer. We fed black for the house black to the camera from the computer, and we had about an 8-frame differential. So from what the camera operator was seeing from the moment it left his camera and monitored it through that monitor, there was only an 8-frame delay, which is, we were shooting 24 frames, so it was a third of a second. It's not too bad. Yeah, we did all the visual effects on that show for under $10,000.
Wow.
And Chuck, now I don't even know if we got to talk about this on our episode together, but
well, we're talking about it now, pal.
You were in a film with Kevin Costner. Do you want to tell people how you actually got your start in the film industry?
Well, golly. Okay.
This is an amazing story. This is an amazing story.
Let me preface this by saying, don't ever say it can't be done. Don't ever say it's impossible. That film back there, Fandango, that was a Warner Brothers picture. I walked into a 7-Eleven in Austin, Texas. They had been trying to cast the role of Dorman for a very long time. And they auditioned about 400 people. And they saw me walking into the 7-Eleven. And Kevin Reynolds, who's become a friend, Kevin Costner, who's a friend, and Mark Ilsley, who was the director's assistant, words out of their mouths. We saw you, Chuck, and we knew we had to have you play Dorman. We needed a man mountain, because you can't see it here, guys, but I was 6'8", about 275 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. But anyway, but seriously, so I walk into the 7-Eleven. Mark Ilsley, who's the assistant to the director, follows me in and says, "How would you like to be in a movie?" And I said, "Yeah, can I finish buying my stuff?" Because my dog was in the car. I was afraid she was going to jump out the window and hang herself with the leash. And so we got outside, and Kevin Reynolds got out of the car, and we had a little conversation there. I went and read for the part the next morning, and I wound up with a leading role with Kevin Costner, Judd Nelson, Sam Robards in Fandango. We shot across West Texas for about 7 weeks. And Steven Spielberg was one of our executive producers. Kevin Reynolds, who was the director of this film, was a Steven Spielberg protege. In fact, he was at school at USC Film School. Steven Spielberg went into his class and called him out of class to tell him he had actually sold the screenplay for Red Dawn. So Kevin Reynolds actually wrote Red Dawn. And so this was his directorial debut, and Kevin Costner's first lead in a film. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very blessed. Very blessed. I was very blessed.
So everyone watch Fandango.
It was amazing.
Yes. Make sure
it's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV.
What year did it come out?
1985.
Oh wow!
And I swear, like this was a couple of years ago. But I set up my TV here in my living room and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? Like, I need to watch a movie because I got the large screen TV set up, like finally mounted and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, you know what I need to do? I need to watch Fandango, and so I put that up on Apple TV and stuff like that. And like literally, I turned it on and I sat down on my couch with a beer, and Chuck rang my phone. Like at that very moment, I was like, okay, Chuck, I was just sitting down to watch your movie.
There you go, guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was Silverado? Because that was in mid 80s too, wasn't it?
Almost immediately after that. He did Fandango and then did the bicycle movie. I can't remember the name of it. And then Silverado right after. Now Silverado was a gift to Kevin because he was in The Big Chill and wound up on the cutting room floor. And in talking to, I was very blessed to be able to spend time with Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, and all those people. And back in my 20s, which God, I wish I knew now what I knew then. You get it. So anyway, what they told me was that Kevin's character ended up on the cutting room floor because he was so unlikable in the movie. He was really kind of that anti-establishment guy who went to one of the family's Christmas or Thanksgiving dinners and just was a complete ass. And so they cut him out of the film because all these people are freaking out because he's dead. And then when you see him on the movie, you really didn't like him, and you kind of wondered why they even cared. And so Larry Kasdan said, "I'll make it up to you." So he gave him the role of that he was in with Silverado, which was actually mimicked after Steve McQueen. If you saw Steve McQueen in Blob and watch Steve McQueen's performance in Blob, you will see Kevin Costner's performance in Silverado when he's in the jail. And he's hanging from the bars and he's trying to have a conversation. Exactly Steve McQueen.
That's the scene I think of immediately when I think of Kevin Costner and Silverado, is that scene you just described.
Yep.
Right.
Wait,
right.
Lou, I know you're about to have to go, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Lou, I'm sorry, man. I'm
no, it's a great, amazing story. I don't want to interrupt it, but I want to say nice to see everybody and meet those people I just met for the first time.
Yeah,
what a pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Lou. We're going to have you back soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Everybody
Thank you, Lou. All right.
Okay. So let's talk about somebody else, please. Enough about Chuck.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome stuff.
Self-consciousness. I understand that feeling.
Brianna, have you ever met Chuck?
No.
Brianna, have you ever met Chuck?
No,
I know.
no.
I know. I definitely talked about it because I remember, like when we. So Brianna is my director on The Cultists.
Hi,
so
Brianna
is my co-writer and director on the Cultist show that we produced. Doug
nice. Congratulations.
So that's like I took all of the knowledge from the Longleaf Studios and made the Cultist with it, and Brianna came on with me to do that. Doug is here with us because well, it
was the worst experience of my life. So,
I'm sorry. I'll take the blame.
And I even remember, Chuck, I even remember being out with you when we were shooting a scissor reel for the knife making company, the sizzle reel for the knife.
The sizzle reel, for Damascus.
For Damascus and I call this because this was in the parking lot. There was Longleaf Studios where we were learning and doing our lessons, and then sharing the parking lot was Damascus Steel, and you were pitching a show to who was it?
We pitched it to Discovery.
To Discovery, you were pitching a show to Discovery. So you had everybody out to create this reel for this Discovery movie, and I was the show, but I was like, it's called Damascus Steel, but I was like, actually, I want to call this the Alabama Center for Great Manliness because everything that's what we should have been, because here we have because what we're making is knives. We're making Damascus Steel knives, and it's just like this almost shed like construction on that shares the parking lot, like I said, with the sound stage, and where like all of the the air hammers are going and the furnaces are going and everything is like this. And I'm like, okay, there's all this group of people here. And like, this is where great manliness happens in Alabama.
So true. So true. Those guys were just over the top, man. And these air hammers, they're 9 feet tall. And what they do is they take like a 4-inch by 4-inch block of different types of steel, and they take the air, they heat it to about 4,500 degrees, and they put it in these air hammers and they smash it flat. And when it gets about this thin, they fold it over on itself and smash it again, and fold it over on itself and smash it again. And the heat takes all those different types of steel and welds them together, so that it looks like a ripple in sand. It has a wavy vibe to it. It's great, and you can't destroy it. You literally can't destroy it. He took a fillet knife, held the handle, and bent it at a 90-degree angle, and then put it back, and it fell right back into place, straight as an arrow. Not a dent.
But did they ever pick that up as a reality show? Did anybody ever pick that up?
We did. Discovery, we went through 3 rounds with Discovery, and it was right at the end of what they call the redneck episodics. And they didn't want to do redneck episodics anymore.
I can see why that would have been that. that would
definitely, because one thing they did that always struck me is they would cook on their forge, where they would take, this forge is heating metal to 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit. They would take a barbecue grill and put chicken on it, season it up, and put it close enough to the furnace that it would actually cook the chicken while they were doing all this stuff. And they would cook shrimp, they'd cook meatballs, they'd cook all kind of crazy stuff while they're, hammering, and sparks are flying everywhere. It's the most gorgeous thing I've shot, probably, because we did, 120 frame a second sparks. And it's like really fast. Sparks are flying. All of a sudden, we slow it down to 120. Rivers of molten metal. It's great. So thank you for that, Heath.
Wow. We should. I remember I have all the pictures from that. That's one of my memories. I was like, that would have been great if that had taken off.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. And right now we're pitching a show to show you how far we've come. I have 3 production companies. I have one that does big films in the $25 to $40 million range. I have one that does small films for Lifetime and Hallmark, and then I have an episodic company that does episodics and documentaries. And our episodic company right now has a show that we're bringing along called Welcome to the Club, because don't tell anybody for all your viewers, but we are actually filming the beginning, the nascence of the first American cricket club. So they're bringing cricket back to America, which I didn't know. Cricket has 2.5 billion followers worldwide. It's the second most popular sport
India
in the world.
and Pakistan love cricket.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean, I'm born in Pakistan, so my dad was a huge cricket player and huge cricket fan. It was very sad that I didn't share that passion for it, having been raised in America.
Right.
When you say bringing cricket back to America, was cricket ever in America? I had always seen baseball as a derivation of it.
Right. Actually, cricket was very popular prior to baseball. About 100 years ago, there was a functional league of cricket in America. And then baseball comes along and cricket go bye-bye. Now, the interesting thing here is there are only 480 or so million baseball fans, MLB fans around the world. But there's 2.5 billion cricket fans. So they're not even close. So basically, it's going to be sort of Ted Lasso meets Welcome to Wrexham.
Well, what's interesting is my son plays baseball now, and I live in like the baseball capital of Texas. It's a real baseball rich area. So we go to practice baseball at a place called D-Bat. It's all these batting cages. There's girls softball, it's everything. And there are now regularly cricket players that practice there now. There's a couple lanes, and to me, it's like so unusual. I'm like, that is so cool. These guys are like doing, because cricket, you bounce it and you hit it off the bounce. So I keep, like, my son's batting, and he's like, Dad, did you see that? I'm like, no, I'm watching these cricket guys.
Right, because cricket is really strange because they have the wicket, which is that 3-pronged thing behind there, and the batter can't. They're really throwing the ball to try to knock the wicket down.
Yeah,
that's where they get their outs. And so the batter's standing there trying to hit it. If he blocks the wicket so that the pitch can't knock it over, then the batter's out. So it's kind of
it's like a bit of a dance. You got to get around it, right? Yeah, yes.
Right. So it is a little bit of a dance. So that's the cool thing. And what I really love about this show and why I signed on, apart from the fact that my finance partner is the commissioner of the league, is they are going to be going after ladies collegiate softball players for the women's league because there's no place for the ladies to go. If you excel at college as a man, you can go into MLB, right? You can go to the farm league or minor league or what have you. There's no place for lady softball players to go. And so what they're doing is they're going to be recruiting from the collegiate ladies teams for the ladies cricket teams, and then from minor league teams for the men's team, because some of the worst players of minor league baseball would crush some of the European and Indian players in terms of physicality.
Interesting.
So
yeah, it's
Kamran,
kind of a cool thing.
Cameron, I know you're about to have to go, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron.
You want to let everyone know?
Pleasure.
I'm going to put
we'll make sure we'll get you that link.
Patreon link.
Yeah, well, I have the link to your website, but I definitely want the link to the. I don't know if the full film is available on the website.
It's not. But
okay,
I'll get it.
I'd love the mail link. If you can give it to Heath, and
we'll get together. I know. So we will get together on that one. That will be so much.
We'll make it happen.
Do that.
We'll make it happen because we still own that. We still own that studio. By the way, we still own that city. We just used it for another production. Wow. Yeah, we just used it for another production. So
okay, great. So you still have that underlying structure. You can use it.
Yeah. Oh, I did.
That's the nice thing is we keep the assets we build. So
great.
We
that's property,
that.
And they'll all no, and we'll talk about it when I do the video. But I've heavily researched the Nazarenes, the Ebionites, the early Jewish Christians, who were the ones that primarily fled to Pella, right?
Right.
They kept alive. I mean, they kept alive in Jordan and Northern Arabia for hundreds of years, and there's a lot of evidence of context with early Islam. So their tradition continued.
Very cool.
The Pella is very, very interesting stuff. And so I've rarely seen anybody even know about it. And the fact that you did a film, an award-winning film on that period and what happened there, I think it's amazing. So I'm going to be excited to join in. So Heath,
we'd love to talk to you about it.
I will bring that together. I will bring that together for season 2.
Thank you, Heath. Thank you.
And everyone still stick around. You have more people coming in. I think my good friend is coming at some point, but sadly I can't stick around. I actually have some stuff to do. I got to get done. So everyone stick around for the more people that are coming in here. And I'll throw in a link to my Patreon.
I just threw in a Patreon link.
Oh, wonderful. So come join me there, and we're having great discussions there. And so, all right, wonderful. So Chuck, I'm going to say we're soon going to be doing a group thing here.
We're going to do a group thing
to join that.
Absolutely.
You and I talked a lot about religion and the history of religion, so I think that would be wonderful. Douglas, talking about archetypal stuff, story around first century Rome and Judea, fascinating stuff. So I think we got to do it.
All right, I will organize it. It will be here on Table Talk.
It will happen.
Hit the like, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Cameron.
Yeah, buddy. See you,
Bye,
Cameron.
guys. Bye, Cameron.
All right, we have another person.
4.
Yeah, no, we're about to have 5 again. Because now we have another person coming on, waiting in the green room. This is Dax Rocker. He plays Rob in The Cultist, which I was just saying that I was just saying that Chuck, you are a major part of the reason that The Cultist even happened. So, because of everything that I learned. So Dax is one of our main characters in The Cultist.
Come on, Dax.
And so
get up in here.
Dax plays Rob. So here we are. Dax, welcome.
All right.
Hey, Dax.
Hey, Dax.
Long
Such
time
an
no
honor
see.
to be here. I'm surrounded by talent that is far beyond me at this point, but I aspire to reach it one day.
Dax,
You're
only saying that because it's true.
Yeah, Rob. Oh my God, everybody. So, Dax, tell us what has been going on with you since we have talked with you last.
Oh, wow. It has been quite an adventure of life for sure. If you've been following what little I posted on my social media, there was a house fire that I was in. And so when I lost almost everything, I saved some old photographs and my laptop and a book, and that was about it. From there, I had a GoFundMe that was successful. It helped me get a new footing in a new state. I was lucky enough that a friend that I was planning to move in with, his lease was due at around the time my house burned down. So he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a place, and clearly you're looking for a place. So you want to move up here in Pittsburgh with me?" And I was like, "Okay, sure, yeah." It's a different state than what I'm used to, but there's a lot of cool things here. I was happy to just travel more because I really didn't get to travel a lot in my old life. And I got to see a lot of sites. Also, just shout out to my friend Ian, who let me borrow his car for a time period, because at that time I also didn't have a car. And yeah, I got to travel, see some states I never seen, saw some sites. I mean, once I was in Pittsburgh, I was just 3 hours from DC. So I just kind of like, while still transitioning into getting an apartment, like I just had these adventures where I would go across country. I saw Gettysburg, I saw DC.
Oh, I've been out there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like driving around, having fun, seeing the world. Yeah, I was living on DoorDash at the time. It was a ride.
Cool. Dang.
Yeah.
Sounds like an adventure.
I want to talk to you about your experience as Rob here in just a moment, Dax. But I know that Chuck, you're about to have to go, right?
Yes, sir.
So
got a bird dog.
Do you want to let everybody know where do they need to go to connect with you, Chuck, and what all you're doing? I mean, you're coming back because we got stuff to talk about. So you're coming back to Table Talk. But what link do I need to throw out for everybody?
Well, the websites, my big film company, Provocation Pictures, is provocationpictures.com. And then of course I talked about my visual effects company, which is audaciousfx.com. And then so I'm Chuck B at provocationpictures.com and Chuck B at audaciousfx.com.
Audacious.
And that goes directly to my phone. So it's never very far from me. And, for all your viewers and certainly the people on the panel, please hit me up. I'm all about collaboration. I'm all about doing the work.
Awesome. All right. Well, we probably need a lot of that, because so we're going to have you back. We're going to talk about that film. We will talk about that because, like I said, you missed the very first when we were talking about Table Talk, but we think that a very important part of Table Talk is that we're not just critics and things like that. We're people who actually do things and create things, and you were totally a part of that, Chuck. I mean, you totally do that. So
thank you.
We need to have you back, and we'll have more discussions with you. You need to be
all foolishness aside, thank you. It's very kind of you. And we also fund films. So, we're very we're not cultists per se. We do faith and family films, but we just picked up a film this week that needed a little extra money, so we're probably going to drop $1 million or so into that one. And we like to collaborate. We're doing a joint venture with a company that's going to be doing a slate of Hallmark and Lifetime and Great American Television and Up TV movies. Here we'll probably be doing 2 or 3 of those a year. So we're always looking for opportunities to work with people and collaborate with people and share what we know. I've been given much, and so I want to be responsible to give back much. So
right on.
People say it's not a cult. Chuck is telling you whatever he's doing is not a cult, but Daniel says that you're missing out, Chuck. So
am I doggone it, Daniel? I guess you're right, pal. I guess you're right. No problem.
Well, we should have a conversation later, Chuck, with just you and me catching up on everything. Always. But then also we're going to do a conversation that's about reviewing The Narrow Path. So I will organize that. So thank you so much for being here for this 100th episode, Chuck.
Guys, thank you for having. I'm very honored. Heath, thank you, and nice to have met you all, and look forward to hearing from you and maybe doing something together.
All right, awesome. Absolutely. I'll be in touch. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
All right.
How do you get rid of me? Bye.
Later. I'm down.
I'm going to be watching The Narrow Path later. That looks really good.
All right, Dax. So you're on deck. So you want to talk about, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about your experience as Rob, because everybody loves you as Rob.
Yeah. It's a unique experience. I mean, I have a sort of following, like literally a cult following. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Yes, success. Just kidding.
So, but tell us about, you remember your experience interview or auditioning for this? Do you want to tell your experience? Okay,
that was the story. Yeah.
Tell that story. Tell that story, Dax.
That was
I'm
my
curious to hear
first
that story from
time.
your perspective too.
That was it was a stressful day for me. I was cutting it really, really close to get to the audition because I was just coming back from like a visit somewhere, and I was just cutting it really close, showing up to this thing, and my hair was a sweaty mess. And I remembered thinking to myself, I already blew it. Like, I just was going into the audition thinking, I'm too stressed out. Like, I don't have a shot at this anymore. But I went into the bathroom for a few minutes while I waited for you guys to be ready for me, I think, if I remember that correctly. And I was given the script. I read the lines on camera. I was very nervous. I was very shaken. But when you guys told me to act, I just got into the zone. I just gave it my all there. And I honestly didn't know what to think after that. I was just, I was still pessimistic about it. But, you know, I remember, Heath, you shook my hand after that. You asked me how we could get in touch. I filled out some sort of piece of paper, giving my contact information more. And that was it. I got a message. I got an email from Brianna a little bit later saying I got the part, and I was stunned. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you are iconic. If people don't know what we're talking about, let me bring this up. We're talking about the Cultist web series that's here on YouTube. Brianna and I have been working very hard to put together a whole new YouTube channel for it. So the Cultist YouTube channel, this is our mockumentary web series, comedy web series about a group of modern day Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. And Brianna and I have re-released the first season on its own channel, The Cultist. I'm going to put this on here. And you can see that, like, here is, like, there's Dax right there on the join our cult. That's one of the issue. And then also right here, like, there he is. This was such an amazing appearance. Like, this is Dax's first appearance as Rob in the series. When Mom opens the door in the Cult of the Fish People, and there is Rob with the fish on his head, and that was so iconic and so amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the most memorable episodes for me, as far as like things on set that were just iconic and worked so perfectly.
Yes, it did, and I remember filming that night. And just how you were, Rob, and with the monologue that you did and all of that, it was just absolutely what hold on.
What are you doing?
It was absolutely amazing.
I just want to say, I feel like there's been a theme in our conversation a little bit today. I don't know if you were hearing it earlier, Dax, however you were listening, but this theme about not being the one to say no to yourself. People listening to things and being like, oh, I'm not going to get this. And being like, oh, wow. Oh, I did.
Chuck's story about the 7-Eleven, it sounds just too good to be true kind of thing, but it's true. It's real. And so that definitely empowers me.
Yeah.
Right?
I know. And like I said, and that's been so much a part of what I'd been saying Table Talk is, that we are all creators. And so far, I mean, we've got more people to go. We have another person waiting who's about to come on. But I've been so fired up, I guess, or enthusiastic about having this episode. I was excited about it before it started. But as it's been going on, when we're talking to people like this and the kind of connections that we have and the kinds of things that we do, I mean, this is really amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, this is bringing together a whole lot more than critics of movies. I mean, this is bringing together people who do things and bring their creative output to the world, and I am so proud of that. I mean, I am incredibly proud of that. This is what Table Talk is.
I'm proud of you too, Heath.
let's bring on. We have another person here now. Dax, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. Once you're on, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. So our next person to bring on is another cast member of the Cultists.
Oh.
And so the next person who is waiting is Rachel Marshall, who plays Shay in the Cultists. And so here she is. Oh, look,
I'm so sorry. I was in the middle of having something to drink.
Oh,
congratulations, Heath.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. It's so good to talk to you. What has been going on?
A lot's been going on. I mean, just at the moment, getting ready to move.
Where are you moving?
We're moving just out to Moody, just outside of Burton. Okay. It's very exciting. But working on a writing project and doing the Hoffman Media thing, and just I honestly been kind of taking it easy a little bit recently because we have this big move coming up. But wrapped up the Crucible back in like late summer, early fall, and now just kind of hanging out, and it feels pretty good to hang out. I'm not gonna lie.
So let me bring this back up right over here. So if you don't know, talking about the Cultists, this web show, which is on YouTube, launched on its own brand new channel now. Brianna and I have been working on that. And
when did you launch that new channel?
I'm sorry?
When did you launch the new channel?
It kind of happened in stages.
It happened in stages. Yeah. All of season 1 is on the new channel now.
It's been 72
that was probably
years.
like 6 or 7 weeks ago or something like that. But you can see here that, like right here, this is episode, I believe, 4.
5.
Never Do Yoga with Witches. You can see that 5 is Eaten Alive by Evil Doms.
God damn it. Okay. You know the episode's better than me.
A hell of a way to go.
There she is. She plays Shay. This is Rachel Marshall. So we got 2 of the actors here. Whoa,
let's just play it. Okay.
Yeah, let's so that's what we're talking about. So please come over and see that. It's about to take over the world. We're completely relaunching. We've been working on an RPG. I've been working on writing an RPG for the Cultists, and we're going to launch a Kickstarter campaign for it. We're going to relaunch all the shirts. We're going to launch this RPG for it. So it's going to be amazing, and we're gonna have Table Talks when Table Talk comes back for its season 2, which is episode 101 and beyond. We're going to do several cultist focused episodes, which actually includes. So wait, Rachel, you were in a short film with Brennan.
Yes, yeah, that would be Veal, and it's on YouTube right now. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
so
actually,
for people that don't know.
We have got to do, we have done. So what we've done here, I'm going to ask Brennan. I haven't asked him yet, but what I'm going to do is Brennan is our director of photography for the Cultists.
Brilliant.
And so we have done viewings like with Brianna's short film, where we have watched the film on stream here on Table Talk and then done commentary on it.
Okay.
So I actually think we should do that with Veal. So you were in Veal. So we should. I'm gonna ask Brennan if we can do that, and we will show it here live. So that's another thing that we've got to make notes of that here. Have Veal on YouTube, and I Veal on Table Talk, and I love that because, like, once again, this is the creative side of things. Have Veal on Table Talk.
Note to self.
Yeah, we have got a super chat that we have to take care of. Sable Pheonix.
Oh my God!
$100. Thank you so much,
wow.
Sable. Sable says $100 for 100th episode, and what better message to make it than the central theme Brianna and Dax just reiterated from Chuck. Don't say no to yourself, just go for it. You never know when it'll all work out.
Amen.
Amen.
Blessed.
Actually, Rachel and Dax, do you know Doug?
I want to say we've done an episode, Doug.
Yeah, it seems familiar.
But it's an echo of the
I'm not sure.
episode.
We're doing like a live.
I don't know if we met.
Was it a live watch party maybe of the Cultists or something like that?
No, because Doug hasn't been on a watch party of the Cultists. We're gonna be doing that. We're gonna be doing that.
Maybe it's just a couple overlapping side peripheral things that's
right.
in the middle.
But Doug has been a major part of Table Talk because he has been on the show because he wrote this book called the Heroine's Labyrinth. which is an alternative story structure to the hero's journey, which you might be interested in, Rachel. This book was just published a couple of months ago, The Heroine's Labyrinth.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, we have done a lot of episodes analyzing The Heroine's Labyrinth and analyzing different stories in the context of The Heroine's Labyrinth. And I mean, Doug's been winning awards and got fantastic reviews and things like this on this book. I mean, he's also a nonfiction, a fiction author, a historical fiction author. And then he wrote this book on a story structure that often appears in stories with female-centric heroes.
Yeah, I wrote a historical fiction novel about a Byzantine empress, and I used the hero's journey.
Theodora.
And I, didn't even question it. I bet the farm on it. I was like, all right, here we go. Hero's journey. We're going to line it up. And it totally didn't work. And that shocked me. And it was kind of devastating, really, because I didn't have an answer for it. If the hero's journey didn't work, I had nothing else to go to. So I was like, well, what's the feminine version? And there's all sorts of stuff out there, but none of it, Matt, was as clear and concise and usable as the hero's journey. So I just started researching other books, literature, like the old classics, watching new movies. And I found a pattern in all of these that continued to repeat. And I was like, this is nowhere else. I've never seen this anywhere else. So I decided to write it down, and it took 4 years to do it. But I finally got it. I'm really proud of it. And there's all these little things going on around it. So, and Table Talk, Heath and Brianna, and several members of the chat, Kamran Pasha, who was here earlier, have all played such a huge role in that. So that's my little corner of Table Talk.
Yeah,
your big corner of Table Talk.
I was gonna say that's quite the dovetail of a corner there for sure.
So yeah, we need to, this has been so many connections and also so many things that we need to continue with for season 2, because we need to do Veal, we need to do Chuck's Narrow Path. We got so many different things that we need to analyze and things like that. Rachel and Dax, I was saying that so much of Table Talk is talking to people who are active creators. And so, I mean, you guys are both definitely part of that. Because Rachel, you're also involved in theater.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so the last thing I did was Crucible, which was like lightning in a bottle of a production. Like from day one, everyone clicked in pretty quickly. And it was an incredible experience. Since then, I just kind of, after doing it, I was like, we're just going to sneak out of 2023 and just chill through it. But one of the big reasons for kind of the pullback is, again, got very inspired to work on a series of, I mean, the only way I can think of to describe it is like just cozy core YA, and the low stakes, high reward, very inspired from D&D games with friends and with my partner, who he and I we're moving at the end of July, and kind of taking ideas from that, and then just also a blend of like Howl's Moving Castle, Lemony Snicket, all of those inspirations for just like, I just want to pick this up and just and put it down. and it's been really fun to refocus on writing, because that's what I did before I started acting. It was honestly, writing became a conduit to acting, because there's just, I guess, this complete addiction to telling stories, and anybody who would want to be a writer, I'm like, yes, do it, it's great, but like once you're in, you're in, and you can't really turn it off. And it becomes a compulsion more than anything else, and it's been really fun to go back and pull that thread of just like, let's do a narrative, and see what kind of like friends we can make along the way with these characters.
Have you started writing since acting yet, or is that still like the next step?
Yeah, halfway through the first installation of what I'm working on. So,
did you? So you said that writing brought you into acting. Mm-hmm. Do you also find that acting has helped your writing?
Definitely, and vice versa, because it becomes about, like, when you're looking at a script and you're breaking it down, you start looking for the themes and the connections of the characters. I think, and this is kind of to bring Dax in. It's not, if I remember right, written anywhere in the script that my character did not like your character, Dax. That was just like, this is a decision. And it was like, anytime he spoke on set, I would just always like,
which is so ironic.
Which Heath and I then committed to when we wrote for season 2. Right?
Oh my! I wish I could
do that from what you guys were doing.
But like, I was like, she wouldn't like him.
I loved how so many things from season 1, season 2, like built off of elements that we created as actors.
Yeah, it was fun.
1.
Yep, for sure.
But you guys, little things like Steve, Heath's character Steve. Oh my gosh.
Jeez, that ran away.
I just want to speak on that because it's like, when you're doing, this is the difference between writing for a novel versus writing for the screen, is that when you're writing a character that someone's then going to act, the writer is only doing some of the work. Like you're creating some of the character and then the actor comes and then completes that. And so I just thought that was a really cool experience where these characters kind of became collaborative in that sense, that then we got to add on. We just, all right, these are the decisions that the actors have made. All right, that's who the character is now. So yeah, that's awesome.
There was so much room to play in that script. It was really easy. And I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, but I feel like there would definitely be some sort of a community around this from the rest of us, but there was so much room to play, and it was and especially with the actors you're working with, everybody, like you've been talking about collaboration, Heath. It was so easy to just come in and play, and you're working with people who are also just like, let's mess around. Like, let's see what we have here. And we got to form these really cool connections through the writing. But yeah, like to what you were saying, Doug, yeah, I think that one can inform the other. If you are a writer, I highly encourage an improv class if you can. If you are an actor, I highly encourage finding maybe a writing group or prompts. I think there's some really good prompt decks out there. They both inform each other so much. At the end of the day, it's storytelling. And it's really cool to see how they bolster each other up.
Yeah, I had my role-playing group, and we got, how it evolves over years and everything. We got to a point where it was like borderline like an improv class. You're really acting out these characters and not just like while eating pizza and laughing. Like we were pretty serious about. So it's funny. Then when you start writing, you do that for years, and then when you're writing, you realize there's these pockets in your head where you're auto-populating characters immediately, and like all the scenes are being acted out in all these different characters, and I completely chalked that up to role playing, and I can't even imagine the higher level of acting officially.
It's fun. It's really cool what you discover like along the way when you're doing scene work, because it really does feel kind of like you are drafting what will be the final draft once you're up on stage. It's really interesting to kind of,
like you said, all those unexpected things that aren't in the script that that are added into it correctly, that would have been seen nowhere else except the actor,
Well, and Brianna and I actually, Brianna, I've been talking about a lot of things a week, but we went over the scripts for season 3. That if we ever get to do those, because they were written, we went over the scripts for season 3 last week. It's been forever since we've read them, and we read over them, and we realized they need to have a lot of work done to them.
Basically, he and I have grown as writers since
because we've grown as writers. It was a fantastic exercise because Table Talk really hadn't begun when we wrote those, because so much of Table Talk has been story analysis, has been talking about story structure, has been talking about writing. I mean, Table Talk, in fact, one of the we were doing Table Talk, but I remember Brianna and I used to get together and just have a video call to analyze a story, and this was more than 18 months ago. And then at one point I was like, we should totally have these conversations on film. We should just have these conversations live, because we would watch, Brandon and I would watch a movie together, and then she and I would get together on the story structure, and we would critique it, stuff like that. It's like we should make this part of the Table Talk. So that was an early part of Table Talk, was that Brianna and I would start to get together. So we would just do that live, and that was part of this. But we wrote the Cultist season 3 scripts before we even started that. And so when we read the season 3 scripts, we were like, okay, there's a lot of great stuff in it.
The jokes are still good. The jokes
there is a lot of great stuff in it. There is also
we can do better.
Stuff that needs to be improved. There's also stuff that we're like, okay, I see what we were trying to do with this particular archetype or this particular story beat or something, but it wasn't executed well. So we have if we were going to do it, we would have to, rewrite it. It would be a lot of work. But one of the things that we were talking about, Brianna and I were like, have we sufficiently understood why Shay and Dax don't like each other? Like, we really explored. We thought about that. We
never really talked about it, Dax.
I know we hadn't really talked about it, but we were like, we should probably at least really understand that as writers to understand what happens in season 3 between these two characters about why is it that they don't like each other.
And I think I was saying like even if like we need to make that decision as writers, even if Rachel, for example, makes a different decision as an actor, like what, but like I was like, we don't have enough of a, because we're bringing that in more in season 3. So it's like, we need to be committing more.
Is season 3 a prequel?
No.
The
but no, and it's a complete. The idea is it's a complete. There were only supposed to be 3 seasons. It's a completion, but still, like, because of all this has happened, like, even if you don't actually explicitly write it into the story, we need to understand what's here to motivate what's happening in this.
I mean, on a surface level, they just have very like personalities that I think,
very different.
Yeah, and more from Shay's direction, I would think.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that. We were actually specifically talking about from Shay's direction. We were like, so why is it that Shay hates Rob? Like, what is it that actually motivates this hatred?
The thing about Rob is that like he is so otherworldly compared to the other cast members that like he's bound to piss off anybody.
You're so enmeshed. Like Rob is so enmeshed, and you did so great with that. Where like you're like he just has blinders on.
Absolutely.
He's just like, no, it's this, and like and I think that
I forget if it was. I honestly forget at this point if it was my inspiration or if it was Heath's inspiration, but like Dwight from The Office.
That vibes right.
I think you both arrived at that. That was honestly probably why you got it, because that was like other people in the auditions were not taking in that direction, and he like people kept auditioning, and Heath and I were just saying, no, it's not what we were. It's kind of weird because we're both writers.
I remember like something I did in the audition was just like passionate, but something in my tone of voice was like weird, nervous tick wreck kind of person. It's like there's something off about me.
Here's my theory. I would love to ask you two as the actors what you think about it. And he just real quick. Could it be the fact that Rob is so confident but also so wrong? And that Shay is confident but also knows that he's wrong. And that might be
what you're talking about.
That they're both two people that are very confident and but on different.
Is Shay confident or is Shay just reasonable?
like one informs the other kind of thing.
But I tend to think of reasonable people as people who don't need confidence because it's just like their understanding of the variables in play.
Like they can kind of zoom out a little bit more.
Rob's not very self-aware.
Rob is not self-aware.
Rob is the definition of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Where the less you know about something, the more confident you are.
That's right. That's exactly what Shay is like. That's exactly what Shay is like. That's exactly right. All right, so we have another person in the green room right now. I don't know if Rachel or Dax, you have met her yet, but this might be a new introduction. Retro Nerd Girl is here. She's been a huge part of this channel. She does such amazing film reviews. She does such amazing commentary. Retro, welcome to the show.
Hello, guys.
Oh, I remember her. I remember our discussion of Alien.
Yes, Retro, you have been such a huge part of this. I'm so glad to have you back. You're one of the actually a few people. Now we got Sable and James Bacon upcoming, but you're one of the few people who have been both on the Heroine's Labyrinth live stream, the rolling panel, and now with the 100th, and so that shows you like how much how huge a part of this you have been.
That's a special category.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I am so honored to be here, you guys. I'm so proud of the channel, how well it's doing, and definitely I can recall way back when I found Heath's Geekverse, and I was like, what is this cute little channel? And you were doing the morning show and telling everybody to breathe, and I was like, oh, I love this. And doing like lots of different experiments to see what would work on YouTube. And just so happens that you were talking about story and storytelling, and that is really something I've been such a passionate researcher of, if you will. And so my channel is basically me trying to figure out why some of these movies that I really, really adore, why do they really affect me the way they do. And so all of the talks that you have about writing and storytelling is just wonderful. We needed something like this on YouTube. So thank you so much for creating this.
I'm putting your channel link in the comments right now.
Oh, thank you.
Make sure you subscribe to Retro's channel.
Oh, thanks a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I did see The Cultist, that it's a fantastic web series. It is definitely that I'm actually working on some ideas that may be either a movie or a web series. And that was when I was watching your show. It was basically research, because I was like, okay, let's see. Okay, how are they doing this? Oh, great. So I had a ball watching it. It was hilarious.
We just did it by doing it.
Yeah, you guys were fantastic. I was like, there were certain things that I noticed about production too that I was like, ooh, I like this camera movement here, or just little things. Yeah, a lot of little things. And it seems like as the show kept going, it things were even getting even better and more, even more professional looking. And I was like, this is really turning out to be something really quite good. So yeah, I enjoyed the series a lot.
Yeah, I just want to say on the camera stuff, Brennan was looking at The Office largely for like how they did their like the random zoom-ins and stuff.
Parks and Rec.
And Parks and Rec, yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Very similar shows.
Because I hadn't seen Parks and Rec when we did The Cultist. I hadn't seen it. But I think that Parks and Rec was a big inspiration for Brennan's photography.
Yeah. Those crash zooms and those rack and pull focuses that he would do.
They were excellent. Yeah, I love them.
Like at the right possible moment, and I'm like, he's brilliant. He's so brilliant behind the camera. Like he really is.
A lot of awkward timing. I feel.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that though. It's just capturing the awkwardness of the moment and little micro expressions and things like that. I just loved it.
I think probably one of my favorite moments of that would be episode 3 when Rob is just like, what does he say? Rob puts his hand on Ben's shoulder, and he's just like, I wish you could be a fish and then I could control you or something. I don't remember what it was, but Ben just looks so uncomfortable.
With my fish powers.
Fish powers. Yeah. And then Ben's just kind of like, okay. And zoom in on Ben while he's just looking uncomfortable.
Yeah. Another thing that comes to mind for me in regards to like Brennan's cinematography was, I think it was the Cult of the Yellow King episode in the first season where we're all afraid of yellow. And there's a scene where I'm scared of tennis balls. Like a tennis ball just rolls near me. And it's like, Brennan actually appears in this scene too. He's like, hey, can you pass me that tennis ball? And the way that I actually remember now, I think it was the shot was his idea. But I think I actually filmed this.
That was
shot.
the one. That was the one.
You were. I think.
Yeah. I think it was under Brennan's supervision of how I was supposed to film it, so he gets the credit. But like, it was so comedically timed, the way that we zoomed in, zoomed out, cut to Brennan. That was wonderful.
Yeah. It was fun being on the other end of it too and watching it, where you just saw those elements come together.
Yeah.
And it was hysterical. Like on the day, it was hysterical.
We may still want to get together for a physical showing again. I mean, we did a little bit of that at one of the breweries, but at Ozan Winery, I was thinking, man, we can show some films here. I would love to be able to get together and show that again and show that physically with people in cultist robes.
Oh, that sounds cool. Like a live event. Yeah, that sounds like a fun thing.
Yes. Yeah, that needs to happen. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. And that, the cult is one of my favorite memories of my life. Like doing the two episodes so far is actually one of my favorite memories of my life.
That's wonderful.
It made me fall in love with Jemison, Alabama, too, because I had never been there before.
Even the frozen toilets.
Oh, I remember those now. Yeah.
No, it was awesome. It was really cool filming out there. And all joking aside, it was. I agree. I really liked heading out there too. I was always like, oh, this is nice.
I've been paying attention to this winery that I've been working at, and I was like, we could actually shoot all of season 3 here at this winery. Season three involves building large structures. As it's currently written, involves building large.
As it's currently written, who knows what will
who
change
knows
if we return to that? But yeah.
What was the frozen toilets?
It was during that hard freeze, like when we were filming. It was like I think we were in the middle of spring or like the very beginning of spring or something. And there was this hard freeze, and we were filming at the park, and the toilets were frozen over.
I think in season 1 we were like entirely in the winter, weren't we?
Yeah, it was like season 1 was filmed in the only 2 weeks of winter that Alabama decided to have that year.
Actually,
it was perfectly reasonable weather, and then we got together in like late January or something, and that was the only 2 weeks of winter Alabama decided to have while we were.
So how did toilets freeze? Do they have to be wet beforehand?
Well, these were not the most sophisticated toilets in the world. Let's put it that way. They were one step above being porta potties.
I think they were in the movie Saw, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was like maybe the one blemish on an otherwise really incredibly fun shoot, because I even remember that was a very bonding shoot, because I remember between takes we were all like running into coats. And I think we did like a group huddle to like get and it was like, well, if we didn't like each other now, we didn't like each other then, we certainly do now. It was fun. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, we did have to cancel one day because it was too cold. There was one day that we had to reschedule. We had to just come in the next day because it was too cold. We couldn't function.
Oh man,
we were like going back and forth. It's like, whose call is this? Like, should we just stop?
Yeah.
It was fun to push through though, because those moments can definitely really unite a cast and a crew and like everybody involved. And
trauma bond, basically.
I think a different verbiage for that would be trauma bond, but a healthy trauma bond.
Yes, I say jokingly.
It was really fun. But yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I feel like a lot of film sets do that though, because there's a lot of pressure and like. There can be. It depends on this film shoot. We had not that much stress, but like if you have there's always some sort of challenge or difficulty of figuring something out, or how are we going to do this in time? Something goes wrong or whatever. And I feel like that pressure cooker kind of makes those bonds stronger. And you're seeing each other all the time, so it's like being at a summer camp,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that like even though Shay and Rob really didn't like each other, me and Rachel became good friends after the Cultists.
Very best friends.
We were both. You were very supportive of me during a very hard time in my life, and I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank you again.
Yeah. Likewise. We had, obviously you don't want there to be anything bad that happens to your friends or even yourself, but like we definitely were there for each other.
Thank you
for a good stretch there. So yeah, of course.
Have you been able to do any more acting, Dax? Have you been?
I haven't tried yet up here in Pennsylvania, but there's some kind of a film scene in Pittsburgh, so I'm certainly going to give it a shot. But my plan, honestly, is once my footing gets better, I'm going to move to Atlanta. That's the goal.
Yeah. By Mallory.
yeah.
I was gonna say
Mallory there's so many film buddies I know in Atlanta. I mean, that's where the action is. That's the new Hollywood.
That's on the east side of the country. That's where it is. I mean, there is some in New York too. It's kind of a different type of stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know anybody from New York is the thing. So in terms of networking, I would be completely starting anew there.
That's why you got to join a cult.
Yeah.
I'm
sure there's some cultists in either one. You could compare, like kind of do a Zillow comparison of like,
we're gonna the problem with cults is they don't want you to leave though, so you got to be careful with that.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
when we launch this new Kickstarter for the RPG, we're going to do a watch through of this because Doug has only seen the first episode. So we intentionally told him not to watch the rest of the Cultist season 1, or we're going to see. So we're going to do a get together, and maybe you guys should be on, and do a discussion and commentary of season 1. Then we'll do season 2 after that. But Doug's only seen episode 1 of season 1.
Then a one.
I've been banned from watching until the right moment. So that
Until the right moment.
Most spontaneous.
We've got another
reaction.
person waiting in the green room here, and this is Sable Pheonix, who we've basically got to know because of these live streams. This is one of two people. Sable Pheonix and James Bacon's can be on here in a moment, but Sable Pheonix and James Bacon have both been a huge part of this show because they've been such a huge part of the comment section, and then we started bringing them on the show. So let's go ahead and bring on Sable Pheonix to talk about Table Talk. Hey, Sable.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, RNG. Hey, Doug. Hey,
how's it going?
And nice to meet you. Well, virtually meet you there, Rachel and Dex. Rob. Rob, you're my favorite, by the way. Like seriously here, Heath can confirm. All the way back when I found him through Table Talk in the mornings, and he played all the cultist clips to start his show. And one of the last ones is you saying, if you could turn into a fish, that would be amazing. Because then I could command you with my mental fish powers. And then I started starting every stream at the end of that with, I command you with my mental fish powers in chat. So like you're a favorite.
You're being an influence. How does
Absolutely.
It's not the influence I was expecting, but it's the one I needed.
Creating habits.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm honored to hear
So
that.
it's really, really cool to be talking in real time with a couple of the people from that show. It's what you guys accomplished there. It's really great. Like all four of you there, Brianna, Heath, Rachel, Dax, and of course everybody else involved. But it lands. I don't know how else to say it, but it nails that mockumentary feel. It's like what we do in the shadows, right?
Yeah.
That was my
absolutely that exact same vibe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So yeah, good job.
Yeah. I would agree with that 100%. That same flavor, comedic, not too ridiculous, but also pushing it just a little bit. Yeah, pushing the line a little bit, but not to the point where you're like, there's sometimes when you can see stuff that kind of is not funny anymore because they take it too far. This didn't take it too far. It just was.
There's a real
great.
Fine line.
Such a great time watching it.
Along that line. Best comedy dances along the line. You just get
exactly. Like that's one of the reasons that I think that satire is the highest form of comedy, is because it's intellectual comedy. And what you guys are doing is like, yes, there's laugh out loud, haha, funny comedy, but it's really satire, and you have to really walk a razor fine line where everybody ends diegetically. Everybody has to be totally deadpan and serious and take it totally seriously. And behind the camera, everyone has to say, we're not taking this seriously at all. And there's a really fine line where if you go too far one side or the other, it just falls off completely and it's not funny anymore. And you guys never do. So yeah, it's and thank you, Heath, for the honor of bringing me on into something like this, because none of this would have happened. And tongue in cheek, thank you, Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, because if you hadn't tried to screw over all the RPG creators out there, I never would have found Heath's channel in the first place, and none of this would have ever happened. So,
we covered that a lot.
yes, I mean, one of the big things that got me interested in Heath's channel was how his interview with Ryan Dancy was the most thoughtful, I think, of anybody's. And I was like, wow, this guy's really got something going on upstairs. And from that point on, I've been a regular. So
yeah, he's a smart cookie.
He definitely is.
Rachel, you're about to have to cut out, right?
I do. I gotta head out. I didn't want to step on an intro, but I do have to head. So, but I'm gonna give one last glare to Rob.
I'll control you.
No, you can't.
Thank you so much for being here, Rachel. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot being the 100th episode. So we will write back to you. Like maybe you can come back on the show and we review the Cultists with Doug and stuff like that, and it'd be amazing.
That'd be great.
Storytelling, cultists, tabletop, whatever you want to talk about, movies. I would love to come back. It's always a blast, and congratulations again.
Awesome.
Really, you deserve all of it, man.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, guys.
Nice to meet you, Rachel.
Nice to meet you.
I just want to say real quick. I don't have to leave right now, but I might possibly have to leave early. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, we're not. We won't go for too much. We got one more guest to bring on in just a moment.
Okay, then it probably will be fine.
I remember when you were talking about the Cultists, Brianna. Like we were talking about, because that was so much part of. We talked about that as our film school. They're like, rather than going to film school, we just I don't know. Let's just try to do something. Let's just try to make something happen here. And then, I remember we were sitting like at dinner someplace, something like that. And I was like, I'm so glad I've been able to meet film people. And you looked at me and went, I just love how your strategy for meeting film people was make a film. That's just
I don't remember saying that, but that sounds like something I would have said.
Let's go ahead and bring on James Bacon.
Oh,
James
is one of our other people who has been a consistent chat participator over the past many episodes, and so we of course had him on as well with Sable Pheonix. Let's go ahead and bring James on because he's had many amazing insights into so much of the things that we've talked about. Welcome, James Bacon.
Hey everyone.
James, what's up?
Hey, James.
How are you?
Good.
As is usually the case, I am left stupefied by the parade of talent and charisma that's come before me, and I don't know how you expect me to follow that.
I don't know. That beard's a good start.
Yeah, I was just going to say that your beard precedes you. You have nothing to worry about.
Thank you.
The beard to head hair ratio is just right the opposite of it.
Like I'm upside down.
Yeah. He would be Don King upside down.
Now you've been a huge
now I
part
can't
of
unsee it. Oh man, this is great.
Yeah, James has some of the best insights of anybody.
Just trying to keep up.
Why is everybody that's come on today so self-deprecating too, though? I'm just like,
That's my brand. Self-deprecation's on brand for me. Self-deprecation and gallows humor.
I mean, is there any other YouTube channel like this that has had this kind of 100th episode with this kind of?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm
no,
aware
we're
of.
the best. We're the top. I'm gonna go ahead and just compensate now. We're the best of the best.
Yeah, I can't think of any kind of YouTube channel that has had a rolling panel. Like I think that's like unique to Table Talk. Not that I'm an authority on YouTube channels. I'm just saying.
Well, I've seen a few.
In 1994, there were fewer panels.
I've seen a few. I've seen quite a few.
And the only time I've seen a group of people this big get together to talk on YouTube is when they're either all shouting at each other or all shouting at someone else. So, like,
you may be right about that.
I guess.
Well, James, I'll just ask you a self-aggrandizing question, I guess.
Sure.
So what has Table Talk meant to you? You've been here for so much of it. What has
Table Talk has been an outlet so I wouldn't necessarily call myself a creative. I'm creative adjacent. So I've professionally been an editor. I've professionally been a script reader. I've done PA work all the way up to second director work in filmmaking for a very short period of time. So I've not ever had anything published, not to say that I don't write, but I'm more creative adjacent. And Table Talk has been a very, very satisfying outlet for that sort of endeavor. So like there's game review, there's film theory, there's the discussions with creatives about the creative process, and then I've even worked with you, Heath, on doing some editing. Brianna, you've given me the opportunity to read some scripts. Doug, you've given me the opportunity to like interview you with regard to your own work and critically question you. It's been like a one-stop shop for that sort of creative adjacency, and I just absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
See,
well,
thank you.
James and Sable both are in the chat, but some of the comments they say are so exceptional and so deep that we have to constantly like check back there to see what they're saying, because a lot of times they'll even direct the conversation with some of their thoughts. So just incredible brain power there.
Well, Retro, where are you going? We need to talk about that.
Yeah. Where am I going? I'm right here.
You're hovering above Earth there in orbit.
Well, zipping around the cosmos. Well, right now, oh gosh, I've got a lot going on at the moment because I'm still working a lot on my channel. But Doug and I did a recording about the Heroine's Labyrinth, and it's gonna be on a live stream, I believe, this Sunday.
Mm-hmm. This Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday. So it's gonna be a good 5-6 hours, maybe longer, because
somehow these conversations don't ever go like 1 hour. It's
that was wild, because I think we could have talked for another 2 hours and it would have been fine. But we had other things to do. Say that again.
Is this on your channel, RNG?
This will be on my channel.
I can't wait.
So we're gonna have a very long talk. At first I was gonna do a live stream. Sometimes it's kind of nice I just wanted him to lay down the law, and just sort of give us the information about the book. And I had some personal questions to ask him about things concerning films, which my channel is very film focused. So we were really diving deep into that. And then what I'm going to do is maybe about 2 weeks later, we're going to get together again and do a Q&A for everybody to ask him all their questions. And so it'll be 5 hours. Wow. It'll be great. So that's that. And actually I'm actually going to go through the recording and just clip out certain segments, just so that way in case someone was trying to find something really quick, we could just kind of have that available for anybody looking up where to find the Heroine's Labyrinth for certain the different archetypes, and also like what movies we kind of discussed. I wanted to pull those out separately. So that'll be a lot of editing, but it will be great to kind of like spread the word about the book, and help Doug, and also help my channel, with having a more, I would say, academic kind of feel to it. And it is like completely within the genre I'm kind of working with. So I'm doing that, but also like on the the projects that I'm working on, that I'm slowly working on things behind the scenes. So it will be a while before anything really kind of anything I can produce to show anybody. But things are going along.
They're progressing.
Yeah, they're progressing.
It's a process, isn't it?
It is, yes, it's a process. But right now, besides that, I'm also trying to like create the characters in the physical sense, because they're going to be action figures. So I'm putting that together. Yeah, putting together like their costumes and what they're liking.
Oh, you should talk to Heath about that.
Oh, great. Okay, great.
I've gotten only so far with that, but I've gotten so far with that.
Yeah. So that's about to happen, and then I'm really close to getting more of that. I've got a lot of the materials. It's just customizing each one and making sure that they look the way I want them to look. And all the props and things for the dioramas that I'm going to be working with. So that's interesting. Also, carving out a place to actually film is going to be another like level.
Are you trying to do it at your house?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a homemade. It'll be a homemade movie or project, probably a web series. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is first, and then after that I can get more solid about it and do something physical.
What's the flavor of it?
The flavor is definitely the flavor of robot chicken, but it has it has an actual narrative going on there.
Okay.
So it won't be as funny, but it will have at least the aesthetic of sort of robot chicken.
So are you doing stop motion then?
Not quite stop motion,
Stop motion
either.
is so time consuming.
Yeah, there will be some, but not all. Like for certain special effects that I'm doing, which they're more like fun, low grade special effects. Some of that will be, maybe like a mixture of different formats that might go down, and stop motion might be included. But on the most part, they're going to be closed mouth, and they won't be speaking. There's a couple of channels that actually have running shows with Barbies, and they look they're really great. They're well told, and I was like, wait, I can do that. So yeah, and the mouths are closed, but who's speaking. The camera's doing all of the focusing.
So you're making the action figures and you're filming those action figures as your characters.
Yes.
That's cool.
We have my instant support. If you need anything, let me know.
Okay. And
when that comes out, we'll have to review it on Table Talk.
Of course,
sure.
Absolutely.
We're
Yes.
very tough judges.
But most likely, all of you guys, I might call everybody up for voice acting. Please help me with the voice acting.
I would love to contribute.
I
my
want to
voice
be a character.
if you need one. I have professional voice recording.
When I was
awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
When I was in art college, people came to me for voice acting repeatedly. So yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Oh yeah, well, all of you.
Yeah, any character, I'll be happy to audition for.
All you got to do is call.
Okay.
It's an automatic yes.
There's also, I was watching the Lego movie with my kids the other day, and they animate it to look like stop motion. It's not actually stop motion. It's pseudo stop motion, which is bizarre.
The Lego movie was really cool. As an animator myself, I was like, wait, what are they doing? Is this actual stop motion? And then after a while I figured out it wasn't, but I was like, they made it look like stop motion. That's
I'm
genius.
such a fan of those movies. Unironically, those are amazing movies.
Totally.
Lego movies. Especially the Batman one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Batman one is great.
Lego is great.
I've become famous at work in meetings for every time someone closes a meeting, I'll say, I think I got that, but could you repeat it all? I wasn't paying attention. People hate me for it now, but it's something that I'm well known for in my office.
Oh man, I have to see that one.
First try.
I did see the first Lego movie though. That was really amazing. But I didn't get to watch the Batman one. Okay, I'll put that on my list.
Yeah, we haven't had a Lego movie in a while.
Like what?
We haven't had a Lego movie in a while.
I don't think so. Yeah.
The first
we're
one,
getting a Lego Star Wars thing on Disney Plus. It's like a 4-part miniseries they just announced. It looks pretty fun.
Okay.
Star Wars Lego.
Yeah, they're gonna like mix the world up because it's Lego. You can do that. So they're like gonna change a whole bunch of stuff. Darth Jar Jar appears in the trailer, so it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
See,
I
that
love
might
Lego company's sense of humor. Like their games, their old games were always so funny, and yeah,
completely agree.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun to mix everything up. I think that's what's missing from Star Wars these days. It's like it needs like some kind of shakeup.
Well, there's got to be a fun factor to it. Like Andor was really good, but it was so serious. You know, I'd like it. There should be some fun to it all again.
My favorite thing to come out of the Disney Star Wars era has been the Star Wars Visions anthology series.
Yeah. Did you the second one, right? Or was it the first one that you liked?
You mean like season 1 or season 2?
Yes.
I haven't finished season 2, but there was like an anime episode in it that was amazing.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
season 1.
good.
Season 1 was really good overall. A few episodes I didn't like, but just that's what anthologies are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love that. That was so good.
Is season 2 good of
Oh,
Visions?
yes. And
Okay.
in my opinion, and it's like they took different animation studios from all over the world. So you get different flavors. There's one that's definitely Indian inspired, and it's like, whoa, this is pretty cool to see. What it would be like if you had an Indian inspired Star Wars story. And there's one like in Africa, and then there's one that's really, really kind of dark. I was like, whoa, I'm not ready for all of these
there's always
emotions.
like one dark episode in the season where you're like, whoa, I didn't know we could go there on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's very grown up. And my favorite
one
one
that's
was
just straight up samurai too.
Yeah.
The samurai one was good.
Yeah, that one was fantastic in season 1.
Yeah. Oh, I like the
yes,
one with the
season 1.
twins. Oh, I could go on.
So I'll just say this: Bad Batch season 3 was good, and I started watching Tales of the Empire, and I'm loving it.
You
It's
like
fantastic.
it?
Yeah,
That's
they're like
good.
these 10, 12-minute episodes. They're real short.
I
And
saw
every
them.
time they end, I'm like, oh, I want
Retro
more.
don't like
This is great.
I saw them. I liked it. It just I wanted to really. I wish they had picked other. I didn't. I mean, I knew of the characters. I really wish they had picked different characters, because like I want to see like Darth Vader and the Inquisitors go, that storyline. I want to see more of that stuff. But it wasn't bad. I really wish they had told some of those stories in some of the other, like the Ahsoka show. If we could have gotten a little bit of the story
like
from
Barriss, totally usable characters sitting there.
Yeah, and they're related. So I don't know why this couldn't have been incorporated into Ahsoka. It would have enriched the story so much more.
Great point.
But
Disney Star Wars is like hit or like total miss.
yeah.
Some of the hits, like Andor, hit real hard, and I feel like
Andor was
Bad Batch
great.
also hit hard. Like the visual storytelling in Bad Batch and the emotional payoffs in Bad Batch are just wonderful. Like when I saw the last episode of that show, I knew I was going to miss it. Like you get that feeling after a good book or a good show ends. That 100% felt that at the end of Bad Batch. Really, really worth the watch.
Can someone give me an opinion on the Book of Boba Fett series?
My opinion's pretty negative.
Yeah.
Just don't.
You're okay.
What was bad
You're
about
okay
it
if you don't
exactly?
see it.
Yeah. What was bad about it though?
Did you see it?
I don't even know if we have time to get into what was bad.
I'll tell you. So Boba Fett.
Turning Boba Fett into a broken down old man.
Hold on. Retro, hold on. One second.
Sorry.
Dax, have you seen it yet?
I have not seen it. That's why I'm asking. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll
I
let
won't
Retro.
spoil it.
She's better.
Yeah,
I remember like when that was on, I was sitting here working at my computer. I had a whole bunch of work to do. I'm always sitting here working at my computer. And Boba Fett was on, and I was watching all of the things that were scrolling by YouTube. because they're all. I was like, I'm not gonna watch anything about that event. I was really interested in watching Boba Fett, but I wasn't gonna watch it because I was still working on the computer, and I was like, I don't. But then like I would see the thumbnails go by, and it would be like, this is great. This is awful. This is great. This is awful. This is great. And it was just like a roller coaster. And I was like, oh my God. Like the final episode is next week. I better just binge watch it. And so that way I can watch everybody's YouTube commentary.
Dax, you know the end of Mandalorian season 2 when Luke Skywalker comes back?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember all those YouTube reaction videos? People are like, oh, and they're crying. People like, that's Luke. If they made reaction videos to Boba Fett, it would be people staring at the screen, trying to figure out what the heck they're watching. There'd be zero reaction. It'd be deadpan.
Oh,
And
that gives me a sense. Yeah.
and the Boba Fett also undoes that incredible scene in that series. It undoes Luke's moment in the Mandalorian. So that's very and the last two episodes really turns into Mandalorian show. So
there's 2 episodes where Boba's not even in it. It's all Mandalorian. It's an obvious it's something that happened on the production side where somebody panicked and said, let's just take 2 episodes from the Mandalorian and just plug them into the Book of Boba Fett. They're not Boba Fett episodes. It's
what a
very
bad
weird.
decision.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yes, exactly.
We're gonna need to wrap this up here in just a moment.
Well, I'll say one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll say one thing. The biggest issue I think in this was that Boba is not the iconic person that we remember him as. This character from. So it really just was such a letdown. But I did have chills when I saw Mandalorian and Boba Fett fight side by side, back to back. I was like, "Ooh, that's so cool!" And that was about. It was like, "Oh man."
Okay.
Well, I think this has been a amazing 100th episode. We have brought so many people together who have not been able to talk before. Like we've made introductions here on this stream. Who people who have been part of Table Talk, but who have not actually been live on stream with one another. That was the same with the Heroine's Labyrinth rolling panel. This was the same. And this happened again here. So, like I said, I get a whole lot of energy when I'm on a live stream, whether that's the Morning Grind live stream on the Heath's Geekverse channel, or whether it's one of these. I always get a whole lot of energy. I'm thinking, oh, I'm not doing enough. I got to go to work. And it was definitely the case today. It's like, oh my God, these are people who do. Everyone here is someone who does things, makes things, has great insight into things, and is not just some blowhard or something like that. And this has made this 100th episode really, really special. So thank you all for being here. This has been amazing.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for
Well, it's quite an accomplishment.
Happy 100th.
Yes.
Happy 100th.
Yes.
Congratulations.
We're going to do 100 more. We're going to do 100 more. So we will see how Table Talk evolves. Like we're going to take a break. So I've got some episodes that were on Heath's Geekverse that have not been released here on the official Table Talk YouTube channel now when we made that transition 8 months ago. So I'm going to be releasing some of those and the rest of them here over the next about 3 weeks. But then June 4th, we're going to be back with the Heroine's Labyrinth. So read this so we can do a Q&A with Doug.
Yeah, you say that you're taking a break, and then you go and assign like over 2,000 pages in reading.
This is like when you're taking a break from school. Like, okay, you have some reading to do.
It's like Thanksgiving break.
And then we will do the City of Reckoning. We don't have a date for Cameron's book, Mother of Believers, yet, but we will talk about that. But then when soon the next Kickstarter for the Cultists RPG launches, we will be doing a whole series on watching that with Doug. We're going to be talking with a whole variety of people. We're going to have like 5 or 6 table talks, 4 or 5, maybe 6, I don't know, surrounding that subject, especially if we have like Brennan and Rachel come back for their movie Veal. That so that's going to be a huge thing. That's coming up. So watch the Cultists, read the City of Reckoning, read the Heroine's Labyrinth, all of that. I mean, man, and
I will quiz you all on the Heroine's Labyrinth.
And then we're going to end up. Read.
Am I going to get graded if I don't do the exercises at the end of each chapter?
Yes, Brianna. You will.
I mean, it's only fair. We both sat him down and quizzed him. I guess it's his turn.
Paradise Lost is coming too. I mean, I've been through Paradise Lost twice through audiobook, and then I've watched a whole bunch of commentary on it, and I'm gonna have to go through it again, and I'm gonna read it and take it. So,
which
Paradise
translation
Lost
did you read?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So Paradise Lost is coming up. So that's also too. So, read this stack of material, and we will be back in 3 weeks to start our analysis of all of these things, because that's what
and
yes, Robert says, can you publish the schedule in Discord? I will. Yes. I'll put, in fact, I should put a link to the Discord server. That's actually what we should do before we sign off. So if you're not part of the Raven Keep Discord server, I am going to put a link right here, the Raven Keep Discord server. That's where I let everybody know when we're going live and stuff like that. If you want to know the latest, that's what that's going. So yeah, we will start. We'll do episode 99, a little bit of YouTube time travel on Thursday. Vic's going to be here for episode 99. Vic Mignogna will be here
for
one
slingshot around the sun. Heath,
do you know him, Dax?
It had to be
who?
Vic Mignogna.
Sounds
anime?
familiar.
No? Okay. Well, he will be here for episode 99 out of order. He was scheduled for last Thursday, but he had to reschedule. So we'll do episode 99. Then we'll be away for about 3 weeks, and then we'll come back and we will attack. We're going to attack. And we're going to dominate. So
such aggressive verbs.
all right. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Whether you've been with us live or whether you're going to be watching us on replay, thank you. Please do like the video and also subscribe to the channel if you've just found us. It has been amazing. Thank you for an amazing 100 episodes of Table Talk.
Thank you, Heath.
We're going to do an amazing 100 more. Later, everybody. Go for it.